red light come on?
Okay. This is a special meeting of the East Amwell Township Committee in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice was part of a resolution adopted on January 2nd, 2019, with the notice published in the Hunterdon County Democrat issue of January 10th, 2019. Copy of the notice of this meeting was filed in the clerk's office, posted on the bulletin board, sent to the Hunterdon County Democrat, Times of Trenton Star Ledger on January 4th, 2019. Purpose of the meeting is to discuss the 2019 budget with the CFO. And Margaret Pasqua, the CFO, is present tonight.
Okay. All right, I did send out packets earlier this week. You've got the hard copies. That's basically a summary of every budget we've had for the last 5 years. And then there's individual sheets in the back that show you line by line what everybody asked for and what they've spent in the prior year. Summary of the revenues. The first thing I actually wanted to talk about a little bit more is capital. So I have a few questions on that.
So what page should you direct us to?
Don't have to direct it, capital's not in there.
Okay.
Capital's separate, okay? You already have this, but I'm gonna hand it out again. It's what Jason had given you on potential projects. I know you're also talking about doing security cameras, and he's getting quotes on that, so that would also be added to this.
Okay.
That's where I want to go with this, is figuring out, in this current budget, I threw numbers in where we didn't have them as far as anticipating what we were going to put for capital improvement. I put in $150,000 in this current budget. I don't think that's going to be anywhere near what we're going to need if we are planning to go forward on some of our projects. And that's what I was trying to find out, is what exactly were the plans for 2019? As far as, do we have a DOT grant project? I know, I think I've heard rumors that there was an application made.
Yes.
I know Jason was trying to get information from the engineer today again, because he asked him a month ago if he can give me just a ballpark figure of what we're looking at, and he still never got anything back to me. Because when you get the grant, it may be a $300,000 project, but if you're only gonna get $200,000 from the state, we gotta come up with the other $100,000.
Yep.
And I really do not wanna borrow any money. I'm trying to get you away from that for now. I'd rather we pay as we go. So if that's the case, whatever project we're gonna do, we're gonna have to have that kind of money brought over. If we're gonna be purchasing any equipment, or, I'm gonna need to know that. General road repairs, we usually give Jason anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 a year just to do general things out there. And then there's the whole chip sealing. Right now, I'm gonna give you the general ledger from the capital account. And I circled the two important numbers. It's the balance in the capital improvement fund and the balance in the fund balance.
So let me just make sure I'm clear, Margaret. So on these items 1 through 6, we add number 7, which is security cameras.
Yeah,
And then we add an 8, which is the Linville Road Phase 2, which is the project that we're looking for the DOT grant.
yes.
And then general road repairs would be a number 9.
Yeah, I mean,
just to get it all on one sheet.
Yeah.
Would that be reasonable?
yes. Now, in the general ledger I gave it, we have roughly $41,000 in capital improvements,
Yep.
and we have 46 in fund balance. There are restrictions on what you can use fund balance for.
Thanks.
Capital improvements, you can use it as a down payment. If you were to do a bond ordinance, you can use it as a down payment. Fund balance is more, it's if you're gonna purchase something outright. So this is why I'm stressing that we've gotta get enough money into the capital improvement fund. And my long-term goal is, if you see bigger projects down the road, that we start doing reserves. Each year, we put away a little bit of money towards some bigger project that might be 5 years down the road.
Okay, so these two line items, the capital improvement fund of 41,136.40 and the fund balance of 46,986.02 can be applied to any of these 9
Yes.
items?
Yes, I mean, fund balance is more, like I said, if you want to buy the $13,000 power angle broom, that's what you would use that for. Whereas if you were gonna do the road ordinance for Linville Phase 2, and that would be more capital improvement, because we'd have to do a bond ordinance, because we had to wait to anticipate the money from the state.
So it'd be these two, which are roughly 87,000.
Yes, yeah.
Plus the 150 that you have in the budget.
Right.
Okay.
Now, on the bright side, I did close out last year, and fund balance actually increased by $75,000. So we have a very healthy fund balance, so if you want to use more fund balance in this year's budget to put towards a capital project, we could do that.
What is the fund balance, Margaret?
Fund balance is basically the excess in operations. After we've brought in all the revenues and the expenses, we ended up $75,000 ahead.
It's sort of like surplus. from
Yes, it's
capital.
surplus, yes. Fund balance is surplus.
Yeah,
Wait, this sheet is showing 46,986. Page
That's
2.
capital. I'm talking current fund.
Okay.
Because normally we use $175,000 to balance the budget from fund balance / surplus. I'm saying that we could conceivably use more to help fund capital improvements to move over to the capital fund. But I kind of need an idea of what we really conceivably planned on using in 2019.
Well, we don't want a tax increase in 2019. And right now, this draft that I'm looking
Oh, yeah,
at,
that has a tax increase in it right
that has a
now.
tax increase. I'm a bit confused because, if you'll just bear with me, I'm going to say this in layman's terms, we spent $2,822,000 in 2018. We're projecting $2,766,000 in 2019. So we're spending less, but yet there's a tax increase.
Well, because your rateable base dropped. I'm doing the assumption, I don't have the rateable numbers yet, they should be coming out next week, but I went on the assumption that we were going to drop 5 million.
Okay,
that
now
affects
I
the whole tax rate.
understand. I understand. That probably won't be 5 million when I talk to Mary Ann, because while there's a drop on the ridge, she, I think, was expecting $1.2 million or something bump because of additional properties
No,
that
that'd
were
be great,
built, et
like I
cetera.
said, but I won't know until that next week. So
Okay.
that's when- I just emailed her today, I know they usually come out right about now, so.
Okay.
Hopefully by
Now
next week
I
I can adjust
understand.
these figures and send you.
All right, so this is a rateable
I prefer to do stuff worst case scenario.
base issue. Got it. Okay, now I understand. So, we're just gonna have to figure out how to get to no increase, which looks like we're going to have to plug around a $52,000 hole. I get that by going to the summary page. The excess of, or the difference between $1,412,000 and $1,355,000. Do I have that right?
Pretty close, yes.
Okay. So I just took the difference between those, where's my highlighter? I took the difference between those two and said
Which page are you on? I know there's no page number.
sixth page of the PDF, because I'm working off of the PDF we got.
There's all the tax rates and everything.
Correct,
Historically.
it's this chart.
Oh, okay, that's I think the last page of the purchase.
That would probably be right.
This-
Yep. And if you look
You got it?
right there,
It's
it's the
the
difference
last
between
one.
those two
Okay.
numbers right there
Okay.
is what I'm focused on.
There's another version in the white copy, but it's the same idea.
I got you. This one.
Yep, it's that right there, and I'm focused on these two numbers.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is what's,
57.
we need to get to this,
Yeah,
basically, or roughly, to avoid a tax increase.
I got you.
That's somewhere around 52, so that's what we need to figure out.
And Mr. Matthews asked me if I could do another spreadsheet a little bit different than the top one on here, basically saying what was budgeted in 2018, what was actually spent compared to what people are asking for now. So you have that.
Thanks for taking care of that, Margaret.
Yeah, and that's, yep, I showed that we do have the transfers, the total amended budget. When I say paid and charged, that means anything that was actually expended or that we still have encumbered. Some of these covers might drop off, but, we're still waiting for November and December straggling bills coming in.
So can I just summarize what I think I see in this? So based on what I'm reading, our budget is lower, or at least our budget request for 2019 at the current time is lower than 2018, than what we started out with in 2018.
Yes, well, remember we had that big bump because we were going to do the bond, and that was a lot of additional expenses. I mean, consistently, East Amwell spends 95% of their budget. And that's tight.
I'm not sure I follow. Why is spending 95% of your budget tight?
It doesn't leave a whole lot of wiggle room for us.
Well, we sort of build some wiggle room into the budget. I don't know.
I mean, if you want, we can start right now, start going page by page.
Before we go with this, can we just finish on the capital side? Because we started there, I just want to make sure I understand. So we have approximately 9 capital projects that are outlined. We currently have 150 in the first draft of the budget.
Correct.
We have another 88 available to us.
Right.
And then there's, in the current fund, you say about 75,000.
Well, 75,000 was what we added to the surplus this year. For capital projects, we could go farther than that because we've been consistently adding to our surplus. We could start using more of that towards capital projects. I'm just leery about using it towards balancing the budget because once you use it, it's a permanent thing.
But when you say we used this year, you mean last year? We added...
Yeah, at the end of last year, we added some additional 75 to our balance.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, for a balance. What is the current balance on surplus in total?
880,000. Let's see if I can.
That's as of the end of 2018,
Yes.
and you said 880?
Yep, I thought I brought a copy of that. Let me see what I have here. 887,287.60.
And if I remember right, you seemed to indicate at our last meeting that we were in line with best practice with that number.
That's not necessarily best practice, that was just,
Rule of thumb.
rule of thumb, the person who had trained me, that was what he was comfortable with. I said 750 was where I wanted to get to.
Okay.
I'd like to see something that's 25, even a 700, just as like 25% of what your budget is.
You want to go line by line, or page by page?
Are we done with the capital side? Is everybody?
I've seen this before.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's get into the detail.
All right, start off on page 1. This is just, we've kept the O&E for general administration. prior to that, salary and wages, I had farmland, and I put the new IT person in there for 2018, because I had no other place to put them. I've since given them new departments for that. But we do have the general administration, which is kind of the catch-all for running the building. And we basically left that flat.
Left it flat, but we did not use 4921 of that.
Correct, let's see, then, of
As
course,
of
again,
the-
you have straggler bills come in. Right now, we're at 4,600.
Yeah, it's 46.
Yeah. And again, we still don't have a lot of December bills coming.
Okay, so if we were to look at security cameras, would they be a capital expense, or would they be general O&E, like office supplies?
Would they have a 5-year lifespan?
Security cameras?
Yeah.
I mean, they'd
Yeah,
have a
but-
5-year
yeah.
lifespan. What their depreciable life is, I don't know, but
No,
they,
as long as they have a 5-year lifespan, they can be capital.
Okay.
yeah, I'm sure they would have a 5-year lifespan. We're not gonna replace security cameras, I wouldn't think, more frequently than 5 years.
And the one thing we do have is, we have a couple capital ordinances. There's a very old ordinance that is for municipal building improvements and repairs. So, security cameras, I guess, would be considered an improvement. So we do have some money there.
And what is in that ordinance for that?
About 16,000. I'll give you a copy of the capital ordinances. I highlighted all the road ordinances that we have open at this moment.
So these are in addition to the numbers we just talked about?
Yes, this is what we have, ordinances that are already passed with balances in them.
And the ones highlighted are,
Those are road ordinances.
okay.
So the overlay of Lindbergh and the 1570 various road improvements, that's the, that was the Zion Road and Linvale, Lindbergh roads. So we're just finishing up with that.
So municipal building improvements.
That's not on here.
Yeah, that's lines right here.
Oh, it's not highlighted. Oh,
No, I
okay.
don't
I see.
highlight
Oh,
the
okay, I was just looking, all right.
The important is look at the balances, the ones with positive balances are available.
We still have 18,000 in Clausen Park Development Project?
Yes, I was bugging Tim Matheny about that one a lot. He just wanted that in there. I have no idea what it is.
Now, the one that says acquire various farmland easements.
Yeah,
is
once we go
60.
through the audit, I'm gonna look at that one and see
Yeah.
about getting rid of that one.
Okay.
But I wanna go through the audit first.
And if you get rid of it, does it free up?
It depends on where the funding source was.
Okay.
If we borrowed money for this, then the funding, then it would go back to fund balance. If it was fully funded by open space, then I'd have to bring it back to open space. And I do believe this was something we borrowed money on, so it will probably go back to fund balance.
Computer equipment upgrades, 24,000.
That's something we also might have to worry, we always, every couple of years pass 15,000, so just in case somebody's computer. That's something that might have to get done later this year. And the two that you have, the improvements to Ridge Road, well, they have large balances. 445,000 between the two is DOT grants that we're still waiting on, so it's unfunded.
Be right back.
Okay. So is this a reasonable assumption? If after the audit, we determine some of these funds are available, we can apply them to some of these capital projects?
We would cancel them, and then we would have them to use for another capital project, yeah.
So I think well, Rick's not here, but I think we ought to think about prioritizing these. These aren't in a prioritized list, right? Jason didn't.
Not that I'm
prioritize.
aware of, no.
So we ought to think about at least of these 9 items. Prioritizing them.
I'm sorry, Mr. Matthews, what are the other three to make up the 9?
Yeah,
What did you
so
add?
I added security cameras as number 7. We added the Linville Road Phase 2, which is what the engineer is currently working on. And we had added number 9 would be general road repairs,
Okay, thank you.
which is already in the budget, right? 50,000, you said, Margaret?
Well, we have 150,000.
Yeah.
We usually always use something for that, because right now, Jason he's got 14,000 left in one, and he does have 50,000. That might get him through the year, but then he'd have literally nothing left, so. We always try to put something every year for him to keep working.
And then number 1, the chip seal program is separate from that 150.
Yes, that's a separate, yeah.
And if I recall, that number, 100 to 150, was based on the list that we were provided by Jason and the engineer of the top 7 or 8 candidates for chip seal, right?
Well, this, yeah, you're saying this estimate should be?
Well, I think we should apply that list that we were provided. I think they had estimated both cost and lead time required on a per item basis against this to see how that stacks up to this 100 to 150.
I think we had concluded that at 150, we could get 4 roads done.
Yeah.
We would get, I think, maybe 1, 2, 3, and 5 of our top 10. Fourth, I think, was Grabowski, and that would fit and still get to the 150. I have that somewhere, but I think we were able to get 4 of the top 5 done if we were at around 150.
So as a follow-up, could we get that list again, Margaret, from Jason?
Yeah.
That list of roads? I know we have it somewhere. I just want to make sure we have it all as part of this.
I probably have it in a file at home, but if we're not, we can ask Jason.
Okay. Okay, so on the general administration, this first page, Rick, does this include what we envision the cost of this technology?
Well,
Is that included?
this technology was going to be around $2,500.
Actually, I think I put that into IT, communication
Okay.
about.
Okay.
So it may
I
already
think I
be,
did that farther down here somewhere.
Yeah, I had emailed Margaret a couple months ago about that. And
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
put
get
in,
that finalized and done, so.
When I did the communication IT department, I gave them a budget of $3,500. So I figured 2,500 was for whatever you're using, 1,000 was for whatever internet controls.
well, in the general administration, we have 3 line items: computer tech, web page design, and website. Should we move those to that?
Well, the website is what we're paying every year to keep the website up and running. Or, yes, the website up and running. The other professional services, web page design, I'm not sure what that is. And I don't know what the computer technology, oh, is that computer technology or computer technician?
Computer technician.
The technician we have on
That's- yeah.
call, right, okay, so that's not really impacted by us.
Right, but
That's
I'm
who they call
suggesting,
if they have a computer problem here.
should these 3 line items move to the new, what we created, the new technology and
Communication/IT.
Yeah, just to track it all together?
Not, it's fine with me if you want. I mean, I think the website, yes, the web page design, I'm not even sure what that is. The computer technology is really office computers, but I don't care if you want to move it, that's fine.
And Margaret, would you know if the postage here includes the new requirement for the animal control postage that we heard about?
What's the new requirement?
I just recall there's a new mailing requirement for the animal control.
Yeah, Pam condensed it. It's a number of pages, but she was able to condense it to like 3 pages. So I don't know what the postage, I understand you're tracking the postage? Is that what you told me you were doing?
When she mails anything from animal control, she actually reimburses
Oh, okay,
this
that's
line
what
item
she's
from
doing,
animal
yeah.
control. Of course, with us being kind of tight in animal control, it's kind of iffy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of just the general postage number, we think that's a good number?
Yeah.
Okay. So can we move on to the next
Yep.
page?
All right.
The
Yeah,
the
I don't want to rush
miscellaneous-
anybody, but yeah,
The
because I'll
mis-
go through fast.
Okay, the miscellaneous under the part-time open space administrator, we have a miscellaneous something number
She basically, yeah, she just has one line item that's anything catch-all for open space.
for open
It
space.
used to be in the administrator's office budget, now it's pulled out here.
Right, and we only spent roughly $450 out of $1,500 last year. Do we expect something different in 2018 or 2019?
Nothing I'm aware of. I mean, maybe it can go down to 1,000, just to be safe.
I would suggest
I'd suggest 750.
750.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's just not much activity there right now.
Okay.
If you see what was done in 16, 17, I would agree.
There's not much activity.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm hoping to change that, but it's not going to be, those changes aren't going to necessitate dipping into this.
Yeah.
Either we're gonna get farms and preservation or we're not, but that's not gonna go to this.
Okay.
On the next one, the budget page 2, I think since Mr. Sobieski agreed not to take a salary, we could remove the $3,000 under part-time mayor and committee.
As long as nothing happens to anybody else in the middle of the year.
Well, as far as everyone at the table is concerned, no one's taking a salary this year, right?
Right, and we've all had a physical, and we all anticipate living through the rest of the year.
So,
Would anybody be opposed if I left a small token dollar amount in there just so I can keep the line item open?
Yes, that's
Sure.
fine.
Okay. Municipal clerk.
okay, now I noticed the year-end balance is high. Is that because of Terry's absence for roughly a month, or is that,
Oh, for Terry, for the, her salary and wage?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, so that's
Yes,
an anomaly?
because she was out of, how long were you, for 3 or 4
think,
weeks?
I took my sick and vacation through the 16th of November, so I was out about a month.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's an anomaly.
Yeah, yes.
Unless Terry decides to get something else fixed this year.
That could be.
Okay, and then again, there's another miscellaneous number there of, was 1,200 in 2018, only 121 was spent, and we're raising it to 1,500? Do we have a reason?
Well, we had the shred truck. Apparently that's coming in this, you're having shredding done?
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yes, so
Recycling.
somebody sent me an email saying, don't forget to budget for that.
We pay
Okay.
for that? Don't they normally?
I thought the county was paying.
I thought-
I don't know, somebody sent me an email saying, don't forget to budget for shred. And they sent me a dollar amount.
I would check on that, because when the original email came in, like last summer, asking, I thought it was that the county was sponsoring it, but I will check on it.
Okay.
Look for it.
Yeah, so let's double check that. If there is no charge, then I suggest reducing this number down to maybe 750.
Right. Let's see. Finance out of cap, those are set figures, that's exactly what Holland's paying for me,
Okay,
so. We pay it, we spend it, we pay it, we spend it,
got that?
all right? All right. I put the QPA under my O&E this year again.
That makes sense. And we were light on that because we picked that up kind of in the
You picked it
year.
up halfway through the year, last year. Yeah. All right. Auditor, I
Auditors,
think he increased it, he's closer to about 21,000, I just keep a little extra in there just in case. But that's not gonna have a whole lot left over.
and is this like a statutory requirement at this level, or is the scope adjustable? Like, is there a flexibility on what's audited, either how much we want audited or not?
I don't think so, I think they have to come in for performing a standard audit.
Well, last time he was here, I asked about the grant, the flood grant with Princeton Hydro, and they said that was out of scope of their audit.
Possibly.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering how, if we wanted to change the scope, what's the process?
We would
Could
just
you
have-
ask them what
Yeah.
the process is to change the scope?
We might be getting just the bare minimum now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to just know what the process is to think about deeper audits in certain areas.
Oh, I see. You're looking to go deeper, not shallower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You were making me nervous.
Well, because I was under the impression this was a full audit, and then when we challenged the report, he didn't do it.
Well, it is a full audit, but
Right, he
it's-
didn't audit the,
they're not going to audit every transaction. An audit, by its nature, is somewhat general. So sampling.
Okay.
okay, so here's another web page.
Well, that's the new
That's the
IT,
new
communications IT. We budgeted we put in 1,000 in there, that seemed to be sufficient. And I put 2,500 in because of the video equipment and $1,000 in just for general.
I think that's fine.
And we'll move those other items to this
Yep,
page.
and those the others. Okay.
The part-time tax collector, is this part of the shared service?
That's the shared service piece. That's the dollar amount that West Amwell's gonna send us for her salary. Then you have the balance of her salary and her budget stayed flat.
And just as a footnote, what salary increase did you assume for this?
2%.
2%?
Do you know what the other professional services vital support is?
Yes, that's her whole system, like I have the admin system for accounts payable, she is vital for the whole tax purpose. And we spend,
Oh, all right.
it's $437 a month,
Okay.
plus a few extra unforeseen charges.
Okay, I know what that is. You know what that is. We've had our fill of vital.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
6 or 6A?
That is page 6.
That was page 6, yeah, that was the
That's what I thought.
other special services vital. The system's called vital.
Ah, yes, now I see it, okay.
Okay, tax assessor, I left her budget flat. I don't remember her getting back to me with any changes,
So this,
but I wasn't sure what was going on, if there was gonna be any increase.
how much of the tax appeal number of the 74 that was paid was for the Ridge versus other tax appeals? You know?
I would say probably 90%,
Because I think we could take the 40K down because the Ridge is set.
No, but
but you've got something else, don't you have something
we
else?
have two
coming?
others.
Yes,
And remember, look, though, the 40, they had to transfer 35 in, Tim. The total was
Was 74.
75.
Right, but that was to cover 90% of the total 75 was for the
No,
Ridge.
I didn't think, is that right? Was 90% of, was it 90%
Most of
of the
that is all-
35 or
most of-
90% of the 74?
both of it, most of that was going towards the Ridge.
So that's why I'm suggesting for 2019, the 40 we're projecting.
Okay, but look at 2017. 2017 had 40. She spent 30, basically 38. We were left with 2. Now, you go to 2016, it was a whole other ballgame. There, we spent around 18.
Well, the ridge started in 2017.
That is true, because we met with them November of 2017.
But yeah, well, it started even before.
She has two. Neither of them sounded major to me.
No.
I know what the two are. I talked to her about them. I mean, it's possible we could wind up in court. Well, I think one of them actually is in court, but they're not like the Ridge. This isn't where you're going to go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars on experts and lawyers. Not for two relatively insignificant residential appeals.
So given where we are, unless something...
Let me do this. Before we do anything with the 40, let me talk to Mary Ann. I'm going to make a note. Let me talk to her and see.
Ask her if she'd feel comfortable taking 10 away from them.
Plus, the other question is, do we get all the legal fees? Or the lawyer get his bills in? Are we fully paid up?
I just got bills in, so it's not on this here, for like about $12,000.
That should then pay him up.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's the final, but I'm not sure.
But that was accrued from last year, right? That was
Yes,
still hit
yes,
last year.
yeah.
Okay.
So I would say we should at least consider a $10,000 reduction if Mary Ann would agree.
I'll talk to her. I'll find out. Look, maybe you could do more than 10. I don't know. I just have to find out. I'll talk to her about it.
Okay, legal fees, I estimated dropping at 10,000. You maybe, I don't know what you have, because I know you said there was, with the other issue, we may
Yeah.
need more legal.
That's the problem. I don't know where that other issue is going to wind up. If we wind up in court,
Yeah.
this number for legal fees could be understated. It could be significantly understated. So we had 60, you dropped it to 50,
And we did take out 5.
and
This
We-
year,
we
we
spent
budgeted
around
60.
41.
We transferred 5 out.
right, we spent about 41.
Yeah.
40, really. We spent around 40. We had budgeted 60, so we came in around 20 under. I have to assume we're going to spend just in normal course probably the same 40 the coming year, because there was nothing extraordinary at the township committee level in the 40 that I recall. So it's really a question of,
And then we have that line item for the 5,000 for the labor attorney, which we discussed potentially taking a deeper dive at our policy and procedures.
Well, keep in mind also, last year, we did bump up about $10,000 because of the bond sale.
Yeah.
That was
Oh, that was
legal.
included
That was
in here?
included in this,
Oh,
yes.
okay. I think we could take it down to 40.
to what? The attorney?
Yeah,
Tim, my inclination is to leave it.
okay.
I'm just, I don't know what's going to happen on this other issue.
We'll just flag it and see where we end up on the other stuff, because we know we got a delta we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Just come back, but yeah, we may need it.
At
I
this
mean, I would
point-
do a lot of that work myself, but still, we're going to need planning board lawyer and,
At this point, do we want to leave the 5 in as labor attorneys specifically? Because we didn't appoint a labor attorney yet. We decided that if we were going to take on that specific work, we would
Yeah.
appoint a labor attorney, otherwise we would just leave it in general.
I would be inclined to leave it in labor attorney for two reasons. One, if we have labor issues that come up, and two, if that other issue takes off, at least we have this 5 that is potentially available. And I agree with what Kevin said. Let's see where we are when the dust settles.
Okay.
Next page is engineering. I left that flat.
Well, I'm going to pay a lot more attention to that this year. Try to bring that down.
Any work the engineer does on Ridge Road project or the Linville Phase 2
That gets
would be
charged to the capital ordinance.
capital. So this would be
This is
any other
just,
one.
yes,
Yeah.
any other stuff.
I'm thinking we could take it down a scooch right now.
I think you can shave a little
Yeah,
bit,
I think we
a
can
couple of
take it to
grand
12.
at least.
12?
I wouldn't mind doing that, actually.
Bring it back down to 12?
Let's
I
take
wouldn't mind
12.
taking it down to 12.
Okay.
If nothing else, it'll impose self-discipline.
Yeah.
Okay, Historic Committee, they asked to increase their budget due to the quick collection additional expenses.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Any idea what the additional expenses for the quick collection are?
Kath, do you know what the additional expenses to the quick collection are, for the quick collection? I have no idea.
I know they're moving everything over to the coffee house, and they spent years trying to put them in specific boxes and things. It might be, but we can find out.
What meeting notes here? We're moving the quick collection to the museum. New expenses for archival storage and presentation will be required.
So I guess the only question I'd like to know, is that a recurring charge? The archival storage, is it a one-time or is it a recurring charge? Because usually archival storage is a recurring.
I don't know, they're pretty specific boxes, or archival boxes and acid
Right, but are we
free.
storing them or are we sending them?
I think
to
we're
an
storing
archive?
them.
I think it's on
We're storing
site,
them.
isn't it?
Oh, it is on
Yeah.
site?
They're all there's a room in Clausen House where I think all that stuff is stored. So, I don't know what this is. We'll have to find out.
Let's leave it in, but let's just understand what the ongoing commitment is to that.
Agricultural, left the same.
Hang on, let me get to that. That's the next page.
So the balance was pretty high compared to this, roughly more than 50%.
Yeah.
Is that because they didn't meet very much, or is that just the nature
I don't think they
of-
meet very much, and I don't think their minutes are very long.
I just get nervous when we have a lot of hourly people because there's no control over it.
Yeah.
You know, I was very thrilled when you took a few of the places and gave them salaries because it makes it so much easier to budget and know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And this is an hourly?
Yes.
And who is this? Do we
For
know?
Agricultural advisory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharon Brighthop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm, just on her time cards, she doesn't put that much time in.
Right, but we don't expect anything different
No,
this year,
I
right?
wouldn't think so.
The only thing is, the administrators are now updating their committees section on the webpage. That may take some time. I mean, it's not gonna take a lot, but that may be a few hours
Okay.
here and there.
Well, then let's leave it as it is.
I mean, if you wanted to knock it down to 600, I think that would be fine. I don't know that I'd go much below that. It's up to you.
Yeah, I would do that. I would take it to 600. I mean, given the fact that they only spent 50% of it last year.
And there's not gonna be that much time spent on the webpage. But they're not that active.
Okay, planning board, which is now planning board, board of adjustment. The full salary in for Krista as far as the planning board, board of adjustment administrator is in there. And I combined planning board, board of adjustment budget into one here.
Okay.
I mean, the problem is with this, we are always going over in these departments. So we spent 36,000 this year.
From both planning and zoning?
Actually,
we
this is
eliminated-
just planning.
All right, so let's do these together, because I was a little confused also looking at this. Why we had these split. I guess maybe page 13 is really now just zoning
Zoning
officer,
officer,
not
yeah.
zoning board of,
No.
no, so it should be
Should
just
you just
zoning
say zoning?
officer.
Yeah,
Right, or zoning, right.
So it's just the zoning officer, and last year we had only budgeted 1,000 for zoning officer miscellaneous. I think we're gonna spend a lot more than that, so I put
That's
in 3,000.
correct, because you remember we're using Joanna
Yes.
as a sounding board until,
And the thing is too, is now that you've done that, this is a standalone department. There's no you know, fluff of the Board of Adjustment to lean on.
So the zoning piece, I think is fine. Is there any legal support required of the zoning officer per se in her work? Because we don't have a legal one for
I mean, I don't know if generally she reaches out to me, but I don't know if we need any of Chris Norman time or Carl time. This is also proving to be a bit bigger of a job, at least this past year, than we had originally envisioned, which may necessitate reviewing what she's being paid. So, the 12,638, that's her salary for a full year currently?
12,638. That was what was paid to her last year, yes.
But is that for a full year? I don't think we had her for
No,
a
I
full
don't
year.
think that, no, because you had Maria in here also.
that. No, we had Mr. McManus.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right,
Mr.
okay.
So is that the combined?
That's the combined,
That would be
yes.
the combined, okay. It's all about right then. I would leave it as is. I would just think, I mean, not that we want to add more legal somewhere, but I just think given some of the things I know about the zoning and engagement,
That is true, including stuff we're dealing with now.
yeah, there might be
You might want to put,
1,000 in the legal line.
yeah, I might put 1,000 in, but
Okay.
let's put 1,000 in the legal line.
I think that's prudent. So back to planning then. Rick, you're closest to planning. Is that, do you see anything on the horizon that either would move the needle one way or the other?
Well, let's do the 36,205 is just what planning spent.
Correct.
Now, that includes a fair amount for our affordable housing.
Yes, that's the other.
So a big chunk of that was our affordable housing.
Right.
Which is behind
Correct.
us.
How much did we have? I don't think we had much in zoning. Well, let me just see here. I guess we could see what we spent, right? For zoning. The meetings and conferences, that was Krista's education, the 4,152.
Yeah. Yeah, she had a bunch of classes that she had to
And the
interrupt.
personal expenses and training was also Krista.
Yes.
So this is pretty much all Krista, because we merged that out pretty much out of the gate. So
Right, so to me, the two are legal and other professional planner. How much of that could we reduce knowing we're not doing the COA this year?
the planner it took a lot of Joanna's time. The COA took a lot of Joanna's time.
More of Joanna than a lawyer, than legal?
I think that, well, no, I mean, actually, Tara spent a fair amount of time too. Joanna and Tara both spent a fair amount of time on COA.
So what if we took legal down to 10?
Let me see here, hang on. Legal, we have at 12. No, because of the Ridge, I would leave the legal at 12 until I know what happens with that.
How about the planner, take that down somewhat, since the majority of that work was done on behalf of the affordable housing project?
My concern is I don't know what's going to happen with the Ridge.
You think there would be that much in the planner?
Could be. Or I may need to move it from planner to lawyer, or from lawyer to planner. Let's put a hold on this and come back to it when we get to the end of the budget, Tim. This is pretty important.
Just wanted to turn my phone off. Okay.
Suppose I need to reach you.
Just,
Just check. Okay. So the Affordable Housing Officer,
Yeah, I don't know what you're planning on paying in that, because that obviously can be adjusted now.
We're looking to make Krista the Affordable Housing Officer.
Okay.
She's gonna take classes. Those classes, our planning board lawyer tells me can be charged to the COA fund.
Except that we're pretty much out of that.
You
Oh, wait,
can't,
wait, I'm sorry, classes. I keep forgetting, I have to monitor anything for administrative fees, but classes wouldn't be considered administrative fees.
No.
So then, yes, then classes should
Okay.
be okay.
so we have to figure out what Krista's compensation will be, but she's looking at taking this position.
Okay.
I talked to her about it last night.
so why don't we just leave it as it is for the time being until we resolve?
Well, I don't think it's gonna come to $5,000. I mean, it is actually a fair amount of work. There's a fair amount of paperwork, but if you wanted to take it down to 4,000 even, I think that would be fine.
Okay, let's do it.
And then I'll talk to Krista and try to get a better handle on just what we need.
I don't have the job description in front of me. The posting was posted a while ago, and I know you changed the salary range, but it does not meet the salary range that's in the salary and wage ordinance. So if it's in the salary and wage ordinance that you're offering or something, that's fine. But if it's below the salary and wage, the way you posted, I forget, I know you just downgraded it and people are aware.
So we might have to repost it?
No, you can repost, or just do the salary and wage ordinance again and do it like we did before. She wouldn't get paid until the salary and wage ordinance is
Ah.
adopted, so.
I'll work that out with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Next page is insurance. I usually budget this exact. These right now are estimated figures.
Does
So-
this include, we talked about raising the umbrella up to the higher number?
Right, remember I gave you that little note that said they're thinking about it, the umbrella from 5 million to 15 million and the differences. I gave you a memo or a little piece of paper on it, so I'll show you what the difference is. I'll give you
Okay,
another
but I still
copy.
need to get something from them to tell me exactly what the figures are
For-
I have it.
for the insurance,
The
broken
insurance.
out by workman's comp, public officials. and
Oh, okay,
liability.
I have for
I have
the,
to get it broken out.
I have
that
for the
way.
liability
I
of
can get that from
umbrella.
Steve.
Okay, and then if we decides to go up higher, just let me know what the difference
I'll
is
get
and
it
we can
tomorrow.
figure something out there.
Well, we agreed to seed the first cut of the budget with that increased number. So let's
Okay.
just note that this is a little light right now.
Yeah.
Right.
We may not do it, but we'll see how it works out.
Okay, got employee insurance. If we're hard pressed, I think we could probably bring that health insurance number down a little bit. We really didn't have much of an increase in the insurance rates again, so that's good.
When you say a little bit, would it be about that 6,000 that we left on the table?
I'd be comfortable with knocking this down $6,000.
Okay. Let's reduce it to
So-
6,000.
To 2088.
Yeah.
And then the others look pretty close. Okay.
Next is, I didn't put anything in there since, I guess, the police shared services
Yeah, we,
off the table.
it's no longer viable under the current scenario.
Then we
Let me
have,
just ask a question. Do we want to budget anything in case we restart conversations with Delaware or another town? Because without money, we wouldn't be able to
Well,
engage.
yeah,
them.
can you just do a seed amount like we did for the other one? You need to just keep the line open?
I mean, you could put some money in there, but in all
Like
honesty, I
nominal.
wouldn't be able to spend anything out of there until
So we have-
November. We could do transfers. That's, if we adopted the budget say with $5,000 in it and you contracted with them for 15, they're not gonna be too happy having to wait till December to get paid. Because
So
that's
the
how it's gonna
real- the
work.
reality is, even if we negotiated, we probably wouldn't get through this till mid-year.
So I mean,
And we had been around 15,000 to 16,000, so why don't we say 8,000? Just put a half a year in of our own
cover the
number.
latter part of the year.
Because the new number was based on the increased
Yeah,
contract
that's
that we
true.
didn't accept.
All right,
Does everybody agree with that as a start?
Yeah, I think it's,
That gives
okay.
us
See
at
what
least
Chip's
something
doing.
to work with.
Could also give us the ability to buy a speed monitor if we don't do the shared services.
Well, actually, I noticed in these unexpired, wasn't there one in there?
Yeah, it looks like they depleted that thing.
Well, we bought a
Some
couple
on
of
the
them.
back too.
Is it on the back?
There's 2 sets, I thought.
Oh, yeah, it's 0. So one on
so
the
they're-
back is 0.
They're pretty much gone.
yeah, as soon as we bought them, we
Zeroed it out.
zeroed it out, yes.
Yep, they're zeroed out,
Yeah,
both
that's,
of them.
that's a good point, though. Why don't we leave that 8? If we don't get to a services
Should put it
agreement,
over.
we could use the money for buying one of those, or 2 of those.
Okay.
I think you get about 1. I think they're close to 8 grand a piece.
Okay, Office of Emergency Management, I have no idea what this is. It's been in here since I've been
It just
here.
keeps
We've never
rolling.
spent any money out of it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just leave this here, but I will meet with Gary this week. I'll call Gary and there's things that we can be doing to improve our posture for emergency management, so let's leave it there for the time being, but by the time we finalize the budget, we'll make a decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, aid to voluntary ambulance, I left the same.
Does anyone have an opinion on the
Hold on.
aid to the rescue squad at this point?
My inclination is to leave it where it is. I wouldn't cut
Look,
that.
if we can swing it, leave it.
I wouldn't cut it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We took the hit a little while back, and we're trying to keep it the same.
Yeah, we used to be at 29, and last year we increased it 1,000. I mean, do we want to move it up a little bit more, or leave it where it's at?
Let's see where we are at the end of the budget, Tim. Let's see where we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Fire Prevention Bureau, the $2,400 figure is the person who looks at the smoke detectors.
Yeah.
Now, is there a revenue associated with that?
Yes, we bring in $45 per smoke detector, we pay out $35 to him, so I came within 2 smoke detectors of going over budget. And the $1,490, that's a set dollar amount that the state gives me that I have to put in there,
Yeah.
and it's been consistent. Municipal prosecutor, again, I just did a standard 2%, it's just salary and wage.
We don't see any changes there.
Okay, all right. Road department, salary and wage, I just did the standard 2%. Jason took that 15,000 that was budgeted in his budget last year for the abandoned buildings and kind of moved it around his 3 departments
Okay.
for use.
And he asked me about that, and I was okay with it.
Where does the line item for the lights at the school that are now off? I know that costs,
Was that like a soccer field?
yeah, the
Yeah.
soccer field lighting.
Soccer field, yes, that was coming in open space.
Okay, because that was a pretty significant amount
Yeah.
of money. And we're not going to have that going forward.
Nope.
Okay. Solid waste, I'm budgeting what her salary is, but a lot of times if we have money left in clean communities, I can reimburse it, kind of reimburse it after the fact. I did lower the garbage pickup a little bit because the costs with, lately have been much less than they were in the past. And that still leaves us some breathing room in that account.
Wonder why that is. Less garbage.
No, when I first came here, the rates were really high. We checked around, and went someplace else, and we came back, the rates were so much lower.
Yeah.
Okay, buildings and grounds, so Jason bumped that up a little bit.
I did notice there is a, as you mentioned, there is a municipal improvements of 16,000 on this.
Yeah, that's what we were figuring, I was talking to Jason about that, that might work with the security cameras. At least-
Security and cleaning. I know we wanted to clean the building
Yeah.
and maybe paint it.
I'm not joking, we may do the cleaning with the volunteers, and if that works,
Yep.
then we'll stop there. Otherwise, we may have to get it painted, but the building's looking pretty bad.
It is.
And maybe we even paint it with volunteers, I don't know, we'll have to see.
Talk about it, yeah.
We'll have to see.
At least the front.
Yeah. What are you doing July 4th weekend?
I may be around. We provide the beverages. After the
Okay, and
job's
then
done.
After
the
the job, of
insurance
course.
premiums go up. Okay, vehicle maintenance, again, he just bumped that up by 1,000 every year. We're always putting a little extra in there because it never seems to be enough.
Well, and as the vehicles get older, they'll need more maintenance, so. Although we have a brand-new truck, but other vehicles are getting older.
Public health, Rosemary actually dropped hers a couple $1,000.
Okay. The salary number,
We
What-
actually
what-
had more than enough than we needed, so I just left it flat.
okay, but what drives that? Is that an hourly?
No,
also?
that's, she's salaried now,
She's salary for that?
yeah. I always gotta, unfortunately, I have to kind of hide a little bit of money here and there in case I have to transfer.
But doesn't, I mean, don't we get reimbursed a lot of that?
Not for public health, no. The only, it's the one we did a couple pages back, the solid waste, where her salary's like $2,800, that we can get out of clean communities.
But I thought, I mean, isn't some of this
Talking
sitting
about
and checking wells and septic, and don't we get reimbursed for that?
Well, you get that goes into the revenue side.
Right, but I'm
still
saying we
budget-
get,
We still have to budget for it. It
no,
doesn't
no,
go-
but we get
yeah.
reimbursed for some of this, that's my question. My question is,
You
we
do
also,
get money
there's a
in.
revenue side of this.
There's a revenue side.
Okay, that's what I'm
yes.
asking, yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Environmental Commission, this one had a big jump. They actually requested $3,000 this year for salary and wages. Let me see, I had a memo from her. Just that the workload was getting much larger, additional responsibilities. I will pass that around, if everybody wants to just look at that. That's what they're, and they're asking for their budget to be actually a little more than double.
Well, we're looking at, I look at this as the Environmental Commission and the Green Team. And we're gonna need potentially some money for the Green Team. And even if we combine the two, well, this can come out. That right there, I think, can come out. It's a question of, let me just see
Some
something.
justification here.
You guys can have that. Let me just see something here.
Which one are you talking about?
Right here.
Oh, that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this has been a,
This has been,
Everything,
we've
right?
talked about this before. So that's this, that ties to this. All right, for now, Margaret, I think I would leave the 3,000.
Okay.
The 100, the 280 is fine. The 1,200, take that down to 700.
Okay.
And we'll have a better sense of this once we figure out how we're dealing with the green team.
As a matter of fact, I would change the title to maybe Green Team / Environmental Commission.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Good point.
Okay. Okay, public assistance, salary's just the 2%. I've been giving her 900 each year. I mean, last couple of years, she hasn't come close to it. So if you want to drop that by a little bit.
One of these days I have to get my arms around exactly what this is, because I still don't know exactly what this
I'm
is.
sorry, which committee?
Public assistance, Bambi.
Public assistance.
Okay.
Is it possible to Bambi summarize for us?
What she does,
What her roles are, and what her outputs are?
or if there's a job description or something, so we
There
know
is.
what this is. Is there a job description?
Yes.
That'd be perfect.
Okay, just send you the job
Well,
description for
Well,
now?
there's the job description, but I'd like something from her as to what she actually does.
Okay. Yep. I'll get an email from her.
Perfect.
Because I did notice there's a lot of reimbursement, mileage reimbursement relative to Bambi.
Yeah.
So she's clearly driving around somewhere.
Maybe she goes to people's houses or on some sort of public assistance.
But you could pull it down if you wanted, you're saying the miscellaneous piece.
Well, the miscellaneous is
It's not a
probably,
lot of money, but,
well, that's where the mileage reimbursement
Yeah.
comes
That's
from.
basically her only expenses, mileage.
yeah, but every year there's a surplus, I guess, at the end, is what we're saying.
Yeah, I bumped it up to 900 because one year she actually did. She used to have 800 in her budget, and one year it actually went over.
That was a while ago.
So
I guess
that's
I'd
why,
like to
so
know
I'm
what
thinking like,
drives the variability of her
Yeah.
expenses. And that's what she, does her work, is it driven by an agency that causes her to go do things, that causes her to incur expenses? What's the catalyst for the work?
Yeah, let's see what she sends us.
stormwater public health permit, it's been $500 the last couple of years. So,
It's a fixed number.
as far as I know, I haven't seen it go change in the last 4 years.
So we get a permit.
So do you want to leave it at 7, or do you want to put it to 5 or 6?
Well, I mean, if it's always 500, it seems pointless to increase it.
more,
Yeah.
Right, so maybe you want to move it
Pull
to
it down,
6 or to
600.
5?
Yeah, let's make it 600.
Okay.
Oh, wait, here, feel free to take it.
Recreation services. All right, we've been basically taking, on average, what we bring in from the summer rec, and
Yeah.
putting that back into salary and wages.
Why is there a $4,200 transfer?
That's the money from Recreation Commission.
Okay,
That's the money I'm depositing in there to cover all this.
okay.
So I think who's the liaison?
That's gonna be me, I
That's
think,
gonna be
again.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the two issues that I'd like to cover, and
Mhm.
with ample time, is can we, one, is somehow promote it more to get more?
Yeah, it's usually last
registration?
minute, right.
And then secondly, based on some previous numbers, determine how many counselors we should have. I think.
Well, based on last year's numbers, I think we could have had probably one less
Right,
counselor.
Exactly, yeah. So.
That's
I think we
primarily
have
the
to make that
driver
cut
here.
point, you know.
Yeah, correct.
At some point decide.
Yeah, and we did increase the fees too. It was very nominal, but still,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll do a better job at trying to manage that a little bit, see if we get our arms around it. Yeah,
So I'm just writing Kevin.
yeah.
Utilities, I left the same. By the time, I think I gave you that other, once we got the December bills coming in, the year-end balances were pretty much depleted. Here, that shows at least we had something here.
So this street lighting that's not that's not the soccer field lighting.
No,
That's other lighting.
yes. solid waste disposal costs, we haven't used that.
I'm sorry.
We haven't used this one in years. I mean, I would leave something in it, but I think we could drop it to 100.
It's fine.
Yeah, good.
Contingent, we're keeping that as 1,000 because that's basically our insurance copay.
That's fine.
Deductible, that's fine. All right. Public employees retirement system, that's the net figure. I just rounded it up. It's literally $200 more than I had to pay.
Okay.
Okay, Social Security, I'm gonna leave where it is.
Okay.
Unemployment insurance, I'd like to leave where it is, because we get the bill after the following year, so. Deferred compensation, I had to raise that up because we're putting a lot more people on DCRP since we're basically going more towards part-time employment.
Okay.
Okay, we did get our recycling grant, tonnage grant check in, so I added that into there. It's $3,100 this year.
Good.
It is down from last year.
Not good.
No. The following page, clean communities, I don't have that.
Why is it down? We
Is
wouldn't
that-
recycle as
Is
much?
it the volume?
That I don't know. I don't know how they determine that.
Have to check at the next meeting, maybe.
I mean, I actually got a flyer from them. But I don't, Allison, why is our recycling tonnage grant down last year? Why did it drop from 4,100 to 3,100, do you know? All right, we'll have to figure that
Let
out.
us explore it a little bit. and
I
see.
mean, there's usually reports that have to be filled out. I know Rosemary does the clean community one. I help her with the financial end of it. So I know, but I've never seen
Yeah.
anything with
I think
recycling tonnage.
Yep,
some of it, and honestly I don't know what the breakdown is, but there is a fairly substantial portion that comes from tonnage that's reported from, you know, concrete, that kind of stuff, concrete that's deposited and you get tonnage back, and that side, you know, that differential could amount to something like that. I don't think recycling from the depots would make that much of a difference over month on month and year on year. I mean, there's
Okay.
probably something that's fairly substantial, it might be something to do with that.
okay.
We'll just check so we have an explanation.
Hmm.
And it'll be it, yeah.
Clean communities, that won't make it into the budget. That's usually chapter 159 because I don't hear about that till the summertime. Okay, matching funds, that's just a standard placeholder for $50. Municipal court. I left their budget flat and 2% included a 2% increase. Except for the violation clerk, we seem to be using that more and more. I just wanted to make sure there was enough money in there.
Well, let me just see here.
And it's all broken out between all the different various shared services that we have.
What I got a little confused on is when you go to the PDF you sent us and you go to the third page, it has 0 for all prior years, then all of a sudden 28,911 pops up and it says Municipal Court Stockton, Delaware, S/W.
Okay, yes, because we just started a shared service this year. So there's no previous history of that.
Okay, got it, all right, got it. Now I understand. Okay.
Well, there's much we can do there.
Not really.
You know, unless we ask them to cut their budgets, we really can't.
Yeah, I know Cindy was always adamant about not cutting things just in case something came up that they needed the money for.
Now, the municipal court, I don't know what that is, OE?
Operating expense.
I couldn't tell if that's an O or a D.
Yeah.
O?
It's a no.
It looks like we have a big year-end balance, $5,000.
It's a recurring theme too. If you go back 2 more years, there's
Right,
always about 2 to 3
yeah, you're right.
grand.
So why do we need that full 11?
I don't know. I mean, as I said, Cindy never wanted to cut it. And I mean, that also doesn't include December charges, but it's not a lot.
Maybe we ought to think about knocking that 11 down 1,000 or two.
Take one or two off.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
fine.
I would say let's
Knock it to
take it down to 9,
Okay.
and then we could revisit it again next year, but,
Yeah, when you're posting a $5,000 balance,
and you look at the historic.
yeah,
Yeah.
average like.
Okay.
No.
I'd socialize it with her just to be sure that we're not missing something.
Okay.
I would like to reduce that.
All right. All right, next page is public defender, that's all salary and wage. And then we're on to the capital improvement page, as you see, I put in 150. The other costs are set costs, I don't know. That's gonna be our bond payment, our bond interest, and our note, our green loan payment. So, you know, basically we have to revisit and let me know how much you wanna put in for capital improvement.
So
Okay,
what's the dynamic here on the budget in terms of adding money to or reducing the capital improvement fund? How does that change the tax rate?
well, if you, anything you add in there is going to increase the tax rate unless you offset it by putting in our revenue side, adding more surplus.
Right, okay.
So that's my suggestion. If you decide to bump this up to 250, I would bump up the surplus on the extra 100.
But it's below the cap, it's not.
Right, this is how to cap this
yeah,
piece of it,
this-
so that
this is
doesn't
out of
matter.
cap,
Yeah.
okay.
Let's see. Following page is reserve fund collected taxes. That's not an exact figure at this point. Once we finish the whole budget, then I have to figure
You
out
got
how-
that from Margaret? I mean, from Mary?
No.
Oh.
This is a calculation we do on the annual financial page.
Okay,
So once all that's done and we figure out where we want to be, I
okay.
mean, I can manipulate it to be what I want it to be, but it's going to be not that exact penny.
Well, if you can manipulate it, put it to 0.
Yes, but then that'll ruin your surplus. There's a whole point. The higher I make this,
No, I
the more
understand.
surplus you get back. Okay, we don't have any deferred charges this year, and that's about it. So I'm gonna,
We should open to the public, because we have about 10 minutes
Yeah.
before the meeting starts.
A motion to open the public?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public would like to speak about the budget? Come on up.
I'm Lisa Davis. I live at 32 Stony Brook Road. So I came because I wanted to hear what you had to say about the budget request that the Environmental Commission made. And I couldn't tell from your discussion, you made reference to this, we've talked about this, and it was whatever you decided, the $500 to
The
knock
environmental
out of the-
resource inventory funding?
Okay, yeah, so that, I suspected as much. I would like to get a clearer idea of what the issue is with this, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. I think it's something I'd like to have an opportunity to talk with you all about at length, so that we can talk about what an environmental resource inventory is and how indispensable it is to the town. But without knowing why it's something that you're not willing to support, I can't sort of have that conversation with you. So if you could just share with me what is the basis of your resistance to spending $500 to have the town planner review the extant materials with us so that we can start the process of compiling updated information about the natural resources in the town. I don't understand the problem.
We had a rather lengthy discussion about this last year, and David explained to us what the environmental resource inventory was. I personally wasn't convinced that it was something that was necessary. He was asking for 2,000 or 2,500, I believe, originally. Then he came back and asked for 500. For the same reason that we rejected the 2,000 or 2,500, we rejected the 500.
Okay, well, I guess I'd like to ask that you give members of the Environmental Commission an opportunity to actually discuss this with you at greater length, because I wasn't there for that conversation. I think I'd been on the Environmental Commission for a month or two when that conversation took place. I wasn't here for that. But I've spent a good part of the last year educating myself about what environmental resource inventories are and how critical they are as a resource for town planning and conservation efforts. And I think it's worth having another conversation about this, because I'm not sure, I don't know what transpired in that conversation, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't as robust a conversation as I think is really called for about this. I mean, most municipalities in New Jersey have environmental resource inventories, and they are one of the most important resources for coming up with a master plan, knowing what the natural resources are that exist in the town, and trying to figure out in the longer term how to develop the town in such a way that environmental resources are protected and enhanced. Most municipalities in New Jersey have these. Every single municipality in this region, and that includes Hunterdon County, Mercer County, and Somerset County, has an environmental resource inventory that was produced within the last 10 years. Most municipalities think that this is a vital resource, and so I'm having trouble understanding what your understanding is of an environmental resource inventory that would make you think that it's not important.
You're welcome to present anything you like, and we'll listen to it.
Could you put me on the agenda for the next meeting? I'd really
Well,
appreciate that opportunity.
We can, but I don't want this to turn into an hour discussion, so I'm happy to allocate 10 or 15 minutes to it. If it's truly that critical, it should be something that could be explained relatively concisely. I find that things that take a very long explanation, you're just getting a lot of subjective view as opposed to hard facts. So I'm happy to give it a few minutes. I don't want it to become an hour discussion.
Okay, so I should plan for 10 minutes.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
got it. I will do.
But Lisa, what might be useful is if you do have an example, maybe you could
Yes,
send it ahead of
I
time
have-
so we can take a
I
peek.
have so many examples. Yes, I've
Yeah,
done
so
a lot
from
of
some other
work
municipalities in
collecting all
the
of
county
this.
or something, that would
I've
help
also,
seed it then.
yes,
Yeah.
and I've also done a lot of work speaking with members from other environmental commissions in surrounding municipalities about how they put them together,
Yeah.
what resources they used, what grants they applied for, how much money they got from their township committees. So I can supply all of that information to you ahead of the meeting.
It'll prime the
If-
discussion a little bit, I think that'd be
Great,
Yeah.
will do.
Well, I'd like you to answer the question, if it's so vitally important.
Yeah.
What did we miss these last 5 or 10 years?
I can't tell you about the last 5 or 10 years.
No, I'm
I've-
saying if we would have had one, what would be different? If it's so important to have, what would be different if we had it?
I think you would have, I mean, as I said.
We'd have
I-
a plan, right? We'd have an inventory, but what would be different? When you come to present us, that's what I'd like to hear.
Okay.
If we had a plan or an
Okay.
inventory, what would change in the community?
Sure, I will prepare to discuss that issue. Sure. That will mean that I'll have to spend some time looking at the most recent master plan and doing quite a bit of that, and I will do that. I don't have that material in front of me right now. Okay.
Thanks.
And then the other issue that I wanted to speak about, it came up at the December 27th meeting, which I was not able to attend. There were some questions raised about the personal expenditures I had made on behalf of the public outreach efforts of the Environmental Commission last year. I did send a fairly elaborate explanation of all of that to Terry, which I trust she forwarded along to you. But since I'm here in person, I would like to explain it in person, and particularly to you, because you seemed quite disturbed by something that I think you misconstrued.
No, I did read your explanation.
Okay.
And the one, I think there were two, right? One from, we read them and we approved them.
We're okay.
We're
You don't
okay.
need to explain anything. We understand what happened. We're
Okay, so that happened after the December 27th
Yeah,
meeting?
we asked for an explanation, and we
Okay.
got it.
You gave it, and we're okay with it.
Okay.
And the expenses have been approved.
I understand that the expenses were approved. It's just that there was some
We're-
pretty
we're-
negative light cast on me
No
personally.
negative light. No negative light was intended. It was simply a question. You answered it. We're okay with your
Okay,
answer.
great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
John Stotts, president of the Amwell Ridge Cemetery Association at Lars's Corner. We have, a lot of people probably remember, we brought this up last year. It didn't go anywhere the way we were hoping for. There's still ongoing issues. There were $15,000 in the budget for the demolition of the house.
We came to the conclusion that we couldn't demo that house for anything close to $15,000. Our DPW supervisor looked into it. There are asbestos issues. It would have to likely be demolished as an asbestos structure. He came back and said it was probably going to cost at least 3 times that much, and we don't know where to come up with that funding.
And we went out to bid and we got no
Well,
responses.
I have a gentleman right here who could give his interpretation of what it would take to take care of the house. I mean,
Well,
it's a
let
liability.
me cut to the chase. If you have an estimate for us,
Yes.
that we'd be happy to look at. Talking to us about what it would take to get done without accompanying numbers is not going to be particularly helpful. So if there's an estimate, we'll look at it. Otherwise, I don't know what there is to discuss. Did you bring an estimate?
I did,
Okay.
but I think it's important, and I didn't come here to get the job. I
I'm
only
sorry,
came
could you
here.
identify yourself,
Sure,
please?
I'd be happy to. My name is Sumner Siki. I'm president of 100 Horizons. I'm a contracting company in Flemington, New Jersey. We do excavating work, demolition. We've done numerous projects in the area.
I didn't even recognize you.
Hold on, before we do.
Maybe the shadow cast by your hat. I don't know. I didn't
I think
recognize.
there's a procedural issue. We did do a bid on this. Hold on.
Yes, you did.
And the bid expired.
Understood.
I don't think we got-
I'd like to,
Well,
I understand, but
will.
I'd just like to hear what Sumner has to say, but I
Yeah,
understand
but
what
I
you're
think,
saying.
I think procedurally, we were thinking about reopening or rebidding, and it might be more appropriate for him to respond to a bid package.
But I know Sumner, I know he has the credentials. I'd like to just hear for a few minutes what he has to say about demoing this. In other words, I know he's not some hack with a backhoe. So I just.
I'm not suggesting, I just want to make sure
I'd
from
like
a
to-
QPA perspective.
Right,
we're
but-
following the procedure.
But, go ahead,
So,
just,
so I was asked by the cemetery to go out and look at this property. I went out and quite frankly, I found it appalling that the building is in the condition that it's in. From the street, the structure looks solid. But if you walk around the backside of the building, in my opinion, there's an imminent entrapment issue. Somebody goes in there, they may never get out. There's, on a windy day like today, the building could come down. So from my professional opinion, I believe that this is a very important thing for the township. The township's already recognized that there's a concern here, and so I would strongly recommend that you consider this. I agree with your comment about the public works. It can't be done for $15,000. I am prepared to tell you that it can be done for less than 30, and I would submit a bid to that effect. So and I don't know how you go about getting your monies and so forth. I agree it probably should be rebid, but I believe that double the money is what it's going to take that structure down. It does have asbestos on it. It does need to be removed in that fashion. It's not that big a job to do, but it's something that needs to happen relatively soon.
Is there a reason you didn't bid? When the bid was,
Yeah, quite frankly, we're very busy. And the only reason I came down tonight was because I feel that the township needs to respond to this quickly.
and what is the Cemetery Association willing to contribute to this?
Once it's cleaned up, we will maintain the property, and I think, as of like last time, buy it for $1 and maintain it. I mean, we don't own it, but the liability is on the township.
Well, we don't own it either.
yeah, it's not town.
It's not ours. We don't own it either.
Well, someone has to own it because.
The fellow who owned it died and apparently had no heirs. We don't own it.
But someone has to own it. Someone has to be liable if someone goes in there and gets hurt or whatever. It's
I don't know. We had our prior lawyers look into this. We don't own it. The township does not own it. Can we go in and take ownership? Yes. We don't own it right now. And I'm not even sure what's involved for us to take ownership. I think there's a memo on that, but we do not own it. So that's why, I'm not rushing when you can see how tight our budget is to spend $30,000 to take this down. If you're willing to contribute part of the cost, I'm happy to listen to that. If you're saying to the town, come up with $30,000, as you can see from going through this budget, we don't have $30,000.
Well, I mean, last year there was 15 available. That's
No,
why-
there was 15 budgeted for it. There was 15 budgeted. We wound up, because of budgetary constraints, allocating that 15,000 somewhere else. Once it came back to us that this wasn't going to get done for anything close to 15,000, and that's what we're hearing tonight. It's not going to get done for anything close to 15,000. It's going to be double that. We don't have it in the budget. If you want to chip in, you're aware of grants that are available or other funding sources. I'm not saying that the town won't put up any money, but we're not in a position to put up 30,000. And if the structure comes down, then the structure comes down.
So does the township have any obligation if somebody gets hurt on the property for not taking action?
I'd have to talk to our lawyer about that, but we don't
Agreed.
own
I'm
it.
just throwing the question out. It's not.
We don't
like-
own that. We don't own the
I understand
building.
you don't own it, but the township's aware of it. They've tried to proceed in the past. It's more than their budget. Obviously, you're all balancing the budget. I understand that. I'm just suggesting, is there any potential liability on behalf of the township for not taking some sort of action?
My instincts are no, but until we actually look at that specifically, I can't answer that.
And if that building falls into the cemetery, then we're up a creek without a paddle, and there's damage done to the cemetery, and
I understand that, but we're not in a position where we can solve the woes of the entire world. This isn't an unlimited bucket of money. We have a very limited pool of money, and we have to use the resources in the best way that we can. You're coming and asking us for $30,000. You're saying if it falls into the cemetery, it's a problem for you. When I ask you, will the cemetery contribute toward this, the answer seems to be no. And taking control of a cleaned-up property in and of itself isn't doing much for us.
but we don't own the property.
We don't either. I hear you. You don't own it. We don't own it. The fellow who owned it died. They can't find any heirs. My instincts are, we don't have liability for it, you don't have liability for it. I don't know who has liability for it. Maybe nobody has liability for it. Maybe the only recourse if somebody gets hurt is to take the land, which is fine. Anybody who wants it can take it.
So we're at the end of our budget meetings. You're welcome to stay and in the next open to the public, continue the conversation. But
Okay, I just-
Look, I'd love to be helpful here, but you sat in on this budget meeting. You see that we're laboring over over $200. $30,000 is huge for this town. If I add $30,000 to the budget, that's a tax increase. And I don't mean a little tax increase, that's a tax increase as a percentage.
Okay, I just wanted it to be known that, you know, there's, if something happens and, you know, I mean, then it's up to us to try and do something with it when we don't, like I said, we don't.
I understand that it's a terrible situation for you, but it's a terrible situation for us. And nobody likes driving past that and looking at it. It's an eyesore. But, like I said, have you looked to see if there are grants or cash money available from other sources?
Short of the Rockefellers, which have a stone in there, I mean, that might be the only.
Have you
option
looked to whether
maybe,
the
but-
state offers any grants for this sorts of situation,
Grants
for
are
abandoned
almost-
properties?
we
We
have to,
I
did
understand.
apply for one through
Okay.
DOT a while ago. We did not obtain it, just
Okay.
construction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Close to the public?
Anyone else from the public? Okay, motion to close?
Motion to close.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I propose we take a few minute break,
Um,
just hit
now
the
we have to
restroom.
end meeting, special meeting.
Oh,
Motion.
I'm sorry.
Motion to end the meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
We're going to take a very short recess. We've been meeting since 6 o'clock. So just a short recess, then we'll start the regular meeting.
So far, so good. I only have one color, so halfway through the meeting.
Open Public Meetings Act. The meeting is pursuant to a resolution adopted on January 2nd, 2019, with a meeting notice published in the Hunterdon County Democrat issue of January 10th, 2019. Copy of the agenda for this meeting was forwarded to the Hunterdon County Democrat, Times Trenton, Star Ledger, Courier News, posted on the bulletin board, filed in the clerk's office on January 8th, 2019.
Could we stand to pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I want to get out my own copy of the agenda. I'm sorry we're late. We were dealing with the budget. The meeting started at 6. We thought we would be done by 6:30. The budget is always difficult. We're working really hard this year to try to keep the budget flat with no tax increase, notwithstanding that some of our expenses have gone up in certain cases by not insignificant amounts, so we appreciate your indulgence. Speaking of indulgence, this is the first meeting I am conducting as mayor. I'm having a really hard time getting used to that title. It's weird. But I would like to thank my colleagues for appointing me mayor. I would also like to say that this feels really good. I have good people around me, very good people that I've known for quite a while. People that are really smart, people that are very hardworking and are making great efforts to do what we can to make East Amwell an even better place to live. So I really look forward to the upcoming year and working with you guys. Announcements. And I'm going to try to move through.
I'm sorry, can I just make an agenda?
Absolutely.
Review? Thank you. I have a couple of items under standing committee reports. Item B, update from Mr. Sobieski regarding the Ringo's Village Advisory Committee. Add a item C, the resignation of Pauline Seraphin from Historic Preservation. And item D, receipt of a citizens leadership form from Ida Schmaltz for the Historic Preservation Committee. Also, under new business, item B, the 2019 liaisons. And I think that's it, except for one item of correspondence. It was the January 9th email from David Widasek regarding bicycling in East Amwell. And that's it.
Okay. We'll get my budget stuff out of my way. Announcements, and I'm going to try to move through some of this mundane procedural stuff a little more quickly so our meetings move a little faster. The reorganization dates for all the township committees and boards are posted on the bulletin and on the township website. Web page and communications, that committee has been eliminated, so you can ignore any references to that committee. You can bring your Christmas trees to the Grit Yard on John Ringo Road during the month of January during the regular hours of 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please make sure that you clean all garland and other decorations off the trees before you drop them off. Township will hold a rabies clinic on Saturday, January 19th, 2019 from 1 to 4 in the municipal garage. You could pay for your dog licenses at that time. Clausen House, which is now called the East Amwell Museum, is now open for the general public with hours on Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. Clausen House has turned out to have attendance far in excess of what we ever envisioned. It's doing incredibly well. There's a really great art show going on right now from a noted photographer. Wildlife, Kathy and I liked it so much. So far, we bought 4 pieces ourselves. So I highly encourage you to go and visit. Free radon kits are available to the residents at the Hunterdon County Health Department at the county complex from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. daily. And as we've said a number of times in the past, our new website is up and running. We are going to, in some fashion, get that out to all the residents. We want to strongly encourage the residents to sign up for updates, because we are going to get to the point where if you want to know what's going on in the town, that's where it's going to be. So we are going to work on getting as many people in the township signed up as possible. If you have any comments, suggestions, you can direct them to Allison Castellano, and her contact information is on the website. Item number 5, update from the CFO.
Okay, well, I covered most everything in the last meeting. What I'll do from the budget meeting is I will update everything that we talked about, come up with new numbers. Hopefully by that time I'll have the rateable figure and be able to give you a much more accurate position where we're at with the tax rate. And we'll go from there. I would like to schedule another meeting before the same day as the next February meeting. If we can do it 6 o'clock again, I think that gives us enough time so I don't have to talk really
Valentine's, I'm
fast.
just putting that out there, so some of
We have
you
a
may.
meeting on Valentine's Day?
I have nothing going on, so I'll be here.
Clear that with
I can't think of anything better I could do for Kathy on Valentine's Day than to bring her to a budget meeting, so
Okay.
I'm on.
6 o'clock,
Okay.
It's fine.
6 p.m. on February. Okay, got it.
Candy in a budget meeting. Okay. The secret to a happy marriage. Okay. Anything else, Margaret?
Not really.
No resolutions?
No.
Okay. All right, so we thank you, Margaret, and thank you for the hard work that you've been doing on this budget. She has 5 nudges here on the committee when it comes to the budget, so we appreciate your patience. Okay, item number 6, special discussion. Do we have representatives? Ah, yes, you're back there. Come on up. We are going to have a brief discussion about a very, very significant achievement in East Amwell. The East Amwell Township School was awarded blue ribbon status.
Thank you.
Before we get to the presentation, I would just like to tell you just how significant this blue ribbon status is. There were 349 schools in the entire country that were awarded blue ribbon status. There were 18 in New Jersey. 8 of those 18 were public schools, which means that our school is one of 8 public schools in New Jersey that got blue ribbon status. That to me is quite an achievement. With that little background, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay, good evening. Thank you. I'm Ed Stolowski. I'm the superintendent. John Capuano is the principal. And Mary, you just stole my speech. So the presentation that we were going to make, or we are going to make, is I actually gave you a little booklet. This is an application that we had to make to the federal government based on our nomination as a blue ribbon school. Once you get nominated, then you have to fill out an application and go through and identify things that go on in the school. And this is a synopsis of that. So I thought this would be something that you could just peruse and take home with you and look at and see some of the things that we do. And John will explain to you, after we got nominated, I'll let John explain to you the process of how it went about, and then I'll fill in some few things at the end.
Can I ask a question about the metrics first?
Sure.
Of all those schools, were they all elementary schools, or was that high schools and elementary schools?
Of the 8, that's high schools and elementary schools. Of the 18, that includes parochial schools also. What's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The process is a very rigorous one, and it's not something that you just say, hey, I want to apply for National Blue Ribbon status. The New Jersey Department of Education contacted us in October of 2017, and they said based on our test scores and meeting the benchmarks that the state set for a number of years, they said we were eligible to apply. So after they emailed us, I contacted Ed, and we talked about it, because the process is not an easy one. It's a very rigorous process. It takes months to put the application together. And what we did, we formed a team, and the team consisted of Janet Higgins, Mike Casella, and Lauren Faladine. And then what we did was we had units of teachers that submitted information about our school, and they sat probably for anywhere from 40 to 60 hours and pulled all the information together and submitted it in the application and created that document. At that point, we submit it to the federal government, and then the federal government looks it over, and then they say yay or nay. In our case, they said yay, but we weren't done yet, and they kicked it back to the State Department of Education of New Jersey. And at that point, they have to recertify the new test scores to make sure we still met benchmarks and high achievements and everything else. Once they did that, they kick it back for a final reading. And then in September of this year, we got the great news, that we were an exemplary high-performing National Blue Ribbon school. And at the end of November, December, we went, I'll pass this around. We went to Washington, got that one? We went to Washington, and they presented the awards to us. And then the award that Ed is handing out to the right, New Jersey had their own ceremony, so we attended that also, and that's the one that they gave us. And so both are going to be displayed in our lobby as they walk in. And they also gave us a flag,
Focus on the camera.
also to have over the school.
Very nice.
So anyway, it really didn't hit us until we got to Washington, and how really important and exciting it was that we were singled out as a school of that stature, and to meet other teachers and other principals and superintendents in that area was really an exciting time for us. And our teachers are thrilled, our parents are thrilled. I've been saying for many years, I've been around for a while, that East Amwell is a hidden gem, and it is. We have our school choice. I don't know if you notice or know or not, but we are a choice school, but we're capped at 23. We have 23 students in our school for school choice, and we have a waiting list of, it's as long as my arm, for people that would love to come to our school as a school choice family. And we get reimbursed for those school choice students, so it's not like we're just taking people in. So it's an income stream for us as well, so which is significant for us because it's significant for the taxpayers in order to reduce the cost of our budget, so we can handle some of that on that side. So I just wanted to emphasize that it's a good thing to be good, because people want to come there. If they want to come there, the state reimburses us for those kinds of things. So we're really excited. We're grateful for all the support from our PTA, and also from the township and the parents and the community. It's an exciting time. Everybody's really pumped over there, and we have balloons and all kinds of things going on. And we actually just put a sign up on our school, and we sign, if you look as you drive in, it says National Blue Ribbon School of Excellence, and that will be there forever. And hopefully we're not stopping at where we are right now. We're raising the bar, and we're going to try to even be better. And every 7 years you're allowed to be nominated, so we're hoping we can come back. So thank you for the opportunity for letting us come and share, and be glad to work with you on anything. Or if you have any questions about the school or what we're doing right now, we're in the same process budget-wise, and we're working real hard to stay low as well. So, and I think we're going to be there, so we're okay.
Well, it's nice that the residents are getting a lot for their money from the school, because clearly we are. You don't get this sort of award unless students are getting the best education possible. There's also an ancillary benefit to the town in that when you have a school like this in the town, property values go up. People want to live here, so that makes your homes more valuable. And it's not just the Blue Ribbon Award, but the school has received awards for environmental consistently. And I just wanted to throw one thing out for you to think about and maybe encourage the students. On the committees where by law we are allowed to have youth members, we have opened up slots on our committees for youth members to give students the opportunity to see how municipal government works. They can participate on a committee. And so to the extent that you have students who have some interest in municipal government, perhaps would like to gild their resume. We never thought about resumes at that age in my day, but as I understand it, you start thinking about resumes in this day and age around kindergarten. So to the extent they want something on their resume, there are a number of committees here in the township where we could have youth members participate on a formal basis, meaning they sit in on the meetings, et cetera. They can contribute. So I open that up if there's any interest. And you feel free to reach out. We can give you a list of committees. And if there's enough interest, even on the statutory committees, we can look into having students sit on committees like the Planning Board, maybe the Environmental Commission, et cetera. I suspect there's some way we could make that work.
Okay.
In fact, even if you had exemplary students that you wanted to reward, we may even be able to give them a seat up here at the dais with the Township Committee, maybe on a rotating basis, so that one or two students could sit here up at the dais if there was an interest.
Right.
So if there's the interest, let us know.
We'll
We'd
take
love
that
to work with
information,
you.
pass it back to our teachers and our students, and maybe work through student council to see if there's some students that are interested in doing that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I'd like to make a comment. Both Ed and John, I want to thank you, both as a township committee member, but as a father of a child who went through the school. And I have to say that my own observations of my son's life through the school and the outcomes are just terrific. And I just want to thank you both for everything you do for our kids. And, I've seen it with all the kids in our town. They all go on and do good things. And they go to high school and college, and they're all well prepared. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
I'll make a comment as well, because I actually have a daughter in school, still attending, who would go actually 7 days a week if it were open. It's been a phenomenal experience for us, personally. I really do thank you for your leadership. I mean, the staff, the leadership that you both exhibit, the teacher, the student body, everybody that's involved there is amazing. Because when I moved here, we weren't planning for a family at that point in time. So there's a little bit of serendipity. We liked the environment here, but we really weren't looking specifically at the school. And it's been truly a blessing to be part of it, because it is unique. I've lived in a lot of different locations, and I grew up in upstate New York. I don't think I've ever seen a school quite like this. And you guys have done a really fantastic job, and I'm glad to be part of it. And I think the school's an important pillar in the community, and you both have been very good stewards of it. I can't thank you enough either. And I really think this award is well deserved. So kudos to everybody on the team who was involved.
Thanks.
And we're very pleased. And I did see the lettering on the building when I drove by. I was telling you the other day, and it looks great. It's on the new edition. And looking forward to maybe more awards coming, because you say you don't want to rest on your laurels now.
No, we're not.
You set the bar pretty high.
It's been fantastic. So again, thank you for everything. Really appreciate it.
I'll just add to that, short of ditto, to keep you guys here as a little responsible. But as you know, I have had two, going through the school, and I can absolutely attest to everything that you've said and is included in the book. And actually, having spent some time on the Board of Ed as well, I can attest to the things that Ed mentioned in terms of the fiscal responsibility that goes on there, and the benefit that we all receive from that. So again, thanks and congratulations.
Okay.
Well done.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll jump ahead of you. Just one thing. There was some question about our attendance is now going back up again. We're past where our low was at 200 at 2016. It's going back up, and it's increased by like 30 kids in the last year. So I think there was a lull there where everybody was concerned about where we were attendance-wise, and it's moving back the other way. We still have room for other kids, so if you have room for a few more. We have room.
Start procreating, Chris, okay?
It's gonna be a while.
We're beyond that stage. It's
Yeah,
up to
okay.
you now. Up to you to keep the school full.
So, I mean, without having to do anything, we can handle both this. So I think just to put in the back of your mind, our capacity is still good for any additional families that might have to move in. So we're okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, totally okay. I'd just like to say, thank you. Congratulations, of course. I think this is long overdue, if anything. And, I'm living proof of that. I wouldn't be going to law school. I wouldn't be sitting on top of this dais if not for you guys and all the teachers, all the staff at the school. And what can I say?
Thanks.
You made my life, honestly. So, thank you, guys.
It's nice to hear
Good luck.
good things.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, talk about a tough act to follow. Next, we have a request for bicycle events in East Amwell Township, the Sourland Semi-Classic on February 24th.
Hello, Ryan Ignaton, 2816 Windy Bush Road, Newtown, Pennsylvania, 18940. I'm here to request permission to have our 2 annual Spring Classic bicycling events, the Sourland Semi-Classic on Sunday, February 24th, and the Hell of Hunterdon on Sunday, March 24th. This will be the 3rd year for the Sourland Semi-Classic and the 11th year for the Hell of Hunterdon. We're anticipating 125 cyclists for the Sourland Semi-Classic and 700 for the Hell of Hunterdon.
700.
700.
That's a lot of bikes.
Yes, it is.
We've had some issues in the township with cycling events. As far as I know, we've had absolutely no complaints about your event. I have not heard any complaints. As I understand it, and from what I've seen, your event is very well organized. It doesn't unduly disrupt the residents or traffic. So I have absolutely no issue giving approval to these 2 cycling events.
I just have a general question. In the context of our general conversation we're having about events, what kind of interactions do you have with other towns? And what do they have checklists or forms or permits or anything that you have to, what's different about our town when you come and ask for permission versus other towns?
You make me come in for a meeting every year. No, every municipality is different, and it's some have forms, some just request notification letters. Sometimes we're working with the township committee. Sometimes we're working with the police. It's that every municipality is different. The smaller towns are much generally less formal. Events like this are always interesting because it's use of public roads and it's non-exclusive use of public roads. So unless there's a safety issue, it's really hard to say no to things unless there's been other disruptions. In terms of the Hell of Hunterdon, we go through, I think it's 8 municipalities, and only one has a permit, and that's Delaware Township. And that, if the police chief signs off on it, it goes to the township committee and it just gets passed.
Do they charge you a fee for that permit?
Yes, that fee, all special event fees in Delaware Township are a $50 fee.
Well, I don't see any need, unless we start getting complaints, to bring you back every year to the township committee meeting to get approval for this. We haven't had any complaints that I'm aware of, as I said, about your event. We've had complaints about other events, which is why we're starting to focus on this a bit, but I don't see any need to bring you back every year. unless we get complaints.
I don't see a need to necessarily bring it back in to discuss it, but I think it's good to give us the documentation, the route maps.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, the
absolutely.
notification's got to stick.
And
Absolutely.
make sure that's available to the residents in advance. What we don't want to do is wake up one morning and see 700 bikes riding down the road.
And we've had that problem. Literally, we've had that problem.
No, of course, and I understand that. We always do our notifications. I can't say the same for, other events. I'm sure for, every event that you're aware of, there's probably 3 or 4 that you're not. Some people do the right thing and other people do not. We carry liability insurance. We name the township as an additional insured. We provide the insurance certificate, and we want you to be aware of what we're doing because, if something happens, we want EMS to know. We want the state police to know so that nobody's caught off guard. It's just common sense to have awareness. And I appreciate the fact that you don't see the need to bring me back every year. I know you've been having issues lately, and that's why I wanted to, be here to answer other questions or address other issues.
And just for the record, we've never said no.
Exactly. and most townships don't. Like I said, I won't speak to the legalities of it, but it's a difficult situation, particularly when you're dealing with, some are local roads, some are county roads, some are state roads, and ownership of those roads is fluid.
I would just ask, do you have any sort of procedure for a cleanup? God forbid somebody throws trash on the road. After the fact, do you have somebody go through to make sure everything's kosher?
We do have follow vehicles. We
Okay.
have cleaned up.
Okay.
We participate in the township cleanup days when we've been available to do that. We know garbage is an issue, but from participating in the township cleanup day, there were more fast food wrappers than cycling things. But there's no question that if you have 2 legs, you're subject to littering.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a subject of conversation recently, so I'm just glad to get that on the record. Thank you.
No, we understand and we appreciate that. We want to be good guests in your township.
Thank you.
I think, Terry, unless we start getting complaints, I don't think we need to bring him back next year. We just give us the usual notification documentation. Unless you want to come back and see us, you're always welcome.
Oh, it's nice. Come in occasionally and see you win awards. It's terrific.
Yeah. The good thing to know is also the routes. So if we get a notification, what's the route going to be, how many miles, which roads are.
It's in their paperwork.
No, that way we can just keep it on file as the key.
Post it
If
on
it
the
changes from year to year, it's important to know. That's all.
I actually looked at the paperwork this
Yeah.
year in some detail.
That's
It
good.
was actually pretty impressive, the level of detail in your paperwork.
Oh, thank you. Took a long time to develop the spreadsheet. We want to get the most use out of it as possible.
I don't have any issues though. It's good.
Do we need a formal vote on this, or just a consensus?
No, it's just a consensus usually, whatever.
Are we all in favor of it? Aye.
Good.
Okay. I think we're good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thanks
you.
for coming in.
Thank you.
Good luck with you.
Thank you.
Okay, standing committee reports. There's a 12/17 email from Jim Davidson. I actually know what this is about. We got the county approved a $47,200 grant for Clausen House. I actually went to the freeholder meeting and thanked the freeholders for approving that grant. That goes a long way for Clausen House. About 30 of it is going to go to restore money that was taken out of the open space trust fund. So we're actually now starting to put money back in from Clausen House, which is a good thing. And then there are still additional things that need to be done to finish Clausen House, and the balance of the grant will go toward the various things that need to be done to finish the house. But I'd like to again commend Jim Davidson, our Historic Preservation Society, or I'm sorry, our Historic Society and our Historic Preservation Committee for the efforts that they made in getting us the grant. Item number, wait, we have 3 other things. B, at the last meeting, I asked if Chris Sobieski would take on the responsibility of getting our Ringo's Village Advisory Committee up and running. We formed that committee in 2018 to look into ways to improve the Ringo's Village. Because of other things that have come up in the township, getting that committee up and running has been a slow process, and we want to kickstart it, and Chris is going to do that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris to talk about where we're going from here.
Okay, so at this point, we are in very early stages of this. So I think what's most important, and I've conferred with my other committee members, is to start getting the committee together first. So that's just getting people before we start setting out ideas or goals or anything to that effect. So I put together a little flyer that will be circulated around Ringo's Village, as this committee will be limited to people, well, what is it, 6 residents and 6 business owners of
It's a 5-member committee.
A 5-member,
And
okay.
it's residents and certain qualified business owners, but you have to reside in the village. We've defined that a little broadly, so it goes beyond the actual village, but not much beyond it.
Yeah, so we're looking for very, I don't know if this flyer is back on the, is it back there, Terry, the flyer?
Oh,
This one?
I wasn't asked to leave
Okay,
flyers.
no,
No, I
that's
just
cool.
asked her to leave it. for
Okay,
us.
all right, well, I'll leave this in the back if somebody wants to take a look at it and circulate it, but I'll be reaching out to business owners myself personally and other people around town who I know. I'm looking to get the most qualified people for this, because I think, that when I was campaigning for this office and knocking on doors, a lot of people in the village of Ringo's really wanted to see their town improved. As a lot of you know, we have a lot of dilapidated housing out there, and the town's not in the best place that it could be. So, looking forward, I don't have any, I have aspirations. I don't have any direct things. I'm open to whatever the future may bring, and I'm hoping that this can be a real productive thing. So that's my spiel on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for taking this on.
Of course.
I actually view this committee as potentially being one of the most significant over the next few years. We limited it to 5 members because it's going to be a lot of work, and trying to find 5 people who are willing to put in the work. We don't want to launch the committee if it's going to be destined to fail, so we want people who are really committed to spending the time to try to come up with ideas of how to view the village, or how to improve the village. We don't want to get hopes up in the village and have nothing happen, and that's happened in the past. There have been studies, more than one, and nothing has really happened. So the goal here is to find 5 people who are really, really committed to trying to improve the village, who are willing to spend the time, and let's see what we can do. Again, I appreciate you taking this on.
Of course.
Item C, Pauline Saremba resigned from the Historic Preservation Committee for family reasons. That is unfortunate. Pauline has worked really hard on that committee, but there are some family issues that she needs to take care of, so it's with regret that she resigns from that committee. She will continue to stay involved with historic matters in the township. She just felt that because of the family commitment that she's going to need to make for a while, she did not have the time to give this position what it took. But I really do want to thank her for the efforts that she's made.
I'll move to accept her resignation with regrets.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hopefully, we will be reappointing her at some point in the future. We have an application. Did we get the application, Terry?
Yes, it should
Okay.
have been in the share file.
No, I didn't see it, but okay, I might have, I didn't see it, but that's okay, it may have been there. I didn't-
It's under
But-
Citizens Leadership Board.
Ida Schmaltz has applied to take Pauline's position on the Historic Preservation Committee. I reached out to Jim Davidson and asked him about Ida. He said she's working very hard now, even though she's not officially on the committee, and he thought she would be a terrific addition to the committee. With that endorsement from Jim, I didn't feel any need to interview her. I If the committee members would like to interview her, we can ask her to come in next month for an interview. This all happened yesterday, and Jim would like to get her officially on the committee and up and running as an official committee member as soon as possible. So I was okay not having an interview, but this is a committee decision, so if you'd like to interview, we can bring her in next month. If you'd like to appoint her and meet her, we can bring her in next month, whatever the committee would like.
I mean, I feel good with Jim's endorsement, but
I agree.
Yeah, I'm okay with Jim's endorsement.
This is one of the committees that the appointment has to be by the committee, so I think we need to, let me just make sure of that, but I am pretty sure. Yes, it has to be an appointment by the township committee, so we have to appoint her. It's not a mayor's appointment. So can I have a motion to appoint Edith Schmaltz?
I'll move the motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Terry, you'll let her know?
I'll let her know.
Okay. Okay. Item 8, approval of the minutes. Do you want to go through the minutes? Should I go through the minutes?
You can go through the minutes.
Okay.
whatever.
The November 8th, 2018 executive minutes on contracts. I had no comments to those minutes.
I provided my comments to Terry offline.
You had none on this particular set.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody else
Well,
have?
just to be clear, I wasn't there,
Okay,
so,
you'll just abstain?
yeah.
Okay.
Just will take me off the,
So, okay, the November 8th one?
I'm pretty sure, I'm gonna go back, I was traveling.
Okay.
Go back and check my calendar, there's no reference to me actually doing anything.
The
in there,
minutes
so-
themselves say that you were there, but,
That's why I just want to go back and confirm,
Oh,
but I
okay.
don't think that's the case.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'll double check on that, so if you wanna,
So
three
the special
people.
meeting later in the month, I was there, but not this one.
Okay,
Should we, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? The November 8th executive minutes on contracts?
I'll move for their approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
I would abstain from that. I wasn't.
I'm abstaining.
with the
Okay.
abstain, I'm two people who abstained, and I'll double check and
Correct.
find out if you were there again. Thank you.
The November 8th regular minutes, I gave Terry some time ago comments on those minutes.
That's the set that's been
Yeah.
provided to the committee.
Okay.
And again,
Anybody
you
else have
probably weren't
comments, questions?
I provided Terry all my
there.
comments.
Yes, on the November 8th regular minutes, there were two. On page 8, paragraph 2, change Matthew to Matthews. And page 18, paragraph 8, change SRACs to SRECs.
Yes.
So we'll make those changes. And then a motion.
Can I have a motion to approve the November 8th, 2018 regular minutes?
I'll move their approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I abstain.
And Kevin will abstain.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
I'm
Okay.
abstaining too, Terry. I don't know if you caught that.
I'm
She
sorry?
got it, she got
Oh,
it.
you got me?
Yes, I
Yeah,
did,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Just making sure.
You can't play till January 2nd, so.
The December 13, 2018 budget meeting minutes. Any comments on those minutes?
I would just ask, I don't know if I should or shouldn't abstain. I was here as an unofficial member, so I don't know if that should abstain.
You have to abstain.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You'll have to abstain on all of
Okay.
these.
I'll
Except
just
for
keep
the
my mouth
reorg.
shut until G then.
Okay.
Terry, I don't know if I provided comments on that one.
Excuse me, special budget ones, page 7, paragraph 2, change Matthews with an apostrophe to Matthews with that, okay? That was your correction.
Got it.
Motion to approve the December 13, 2018 budget minutes.
I'll move their approval.
I'll second those.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
And abstain.
The December 13, 2018 executive session litigation and tax appeal minutes. Comments?
You had none.
I didn't have any, okay.
Can I have a motion to approve those?
I'll move their approval.
I'll second that
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Thank you.
The December 27th, 2018 regular minutes, I have not had a chance to review those yet, so I'd like to defer the approval until the next meeting.
one. That's fine.
The Same for the December 27, 2018 executive minutes. Those are an important set of minutes. I want to actually look at those very carefully, and I have not had a chance to do that yet. The January 2nd, 2019 reorganization minutes, I had no comments on those.
I don't believe I did either.
No, you only had one on the other ones, but we're holding that till the
Okay.
next.
Motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move the approval of the reorganization minutes.
No, you can do it now. Steal it from me. I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Abstain.
All right, so we have two sets that are open, both from December 27th, the regular minutes and the executive minutes, and we will vote to approve those at our next meeting.
Okay.
Terry, could you share my
Comments.
updates with Mr.
Yep,
Wolf? to
there was
hold
just
those
one
in?
comment about good guy to good guy. That was the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
I'll second.
We are open to the public for any discussion on topics that are not on tonight's agenda. Anyone from the public would like to get up and speak? Yes. Oh, boy, another award.
Hello, I'm Chief Patrick Eckert of the Amwell Valley Ambulance Corps. I just got elected, so
Congratulations.
I'd like to attend more of your meetings because I believe it's very important. So this is our plaque for Margaret Case. So sitting at the squad building doesn't really do anything. So we asked if it could be on display at the township building for her services.
I think that would be a
That's
wonderful
appropriate.
idea.
I think we would be honored.
All right. Besides that, we're here for anything you need us, or try to come out to more events, try to be more out in the public. You can always use more members, so if anybody wants to join, we start at age 14 and work our way up, so.
By the way, if I could comment on that event.
Mhm.
Last year was the first time we did that. And it was a generous anonymous donor funded that event. It was a wonderful event on the train
Yeah.
with a lot of ice cream and stuff at the end. I would love to throw it out there that we'd probably love to have that event this year and onward to recognize our first responders and volunteers. So if there's any other generous donors or volunteers or anyone who'd like to take up the mantle on making this an annual event, I think it's a great idea, and I think we should really consider that. But it was a terrific event, so.
Thank you. Leave this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
Thank you very
service.
much.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Any other member of the public? Yes, sir.
How's everybody?
We're doing great. How are you?
Good, good. I'm Brian Price. I
Hello, Brian.
am a cyclist. I heard about your talk the other day, and we came to address it. I'm with the Major Taylor Club of New Jersey, and this is the club president.
Okay.
So can we have a conversation?
Take a seat.
Oh, okay.
Fire away.
Can you identify yourself for the record?
I'm sorry, specifically the
tell
the
your
video.
name. Tell
from
your name.
Gina Bullock, Bullock.
Okay.
Specifically, it was in reference to your meeting on December 27th of
Yes.
last year. So we saw a video circulating, and it was in reference to complaints
Yes.
about littering and
Blocking traffic.
riding,
Rudeness,
riding
yes.
two abreast on a road.
Yes.
So we wanted to be proactive and come to find out if you had any further discussion in reference to how you were going to treat, cycling organizations as they pass through the town. So that's why we wanted to come here to.
And I just want to give you some background. The club has been passing through town for the last 40 years. We go from Newark to New Hope, and 514 is one of our passageways. In the last couple of years, we kind of detoured over to Wurtsville, just to change it up. And what we've been practicing is we've been reaching out to the municipalities as we pass through towns. We've been getting rolling police escort all the way up to Hillsborough, and somewhere on 514 and Worsonville Road, that's pretty much it, and we're kind of on our own. We make our way out to New Hope. There's anywhere from 100 to 150 cyclists that pass through that time from, I guess, 10 to 12. So we were just concerned and see what discussions you thought about coming up with in the future. I think you might have said that you were going to talk about that later on, and I just want to read out to you. And I said, just some comments you had was the drivers trying to pass, cycling complaints. What I found out, and I talked to Cindy Steiner, I don't know if you know her, but she's with the New Jersey Walking Coalition organization, and I talked to her earlier about the ordinances you think about putting together, and their comment was about the legislation is already in place for enforcing people who litter and the lewdness, and I think that's pretty much how I talked to her about, and how I guess you would address that. One of the main things I did want to talk to you about is the education that the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition talks about, is having conversations. You really can't have a conversation with a driver other than that gesture, the hand gesture you made, I talked about the other day. And so what I've learned through the classes is that we share the road, and we know we have to share the road, but sometimes motorists don't. It's tight, and we know these roads out here and throughout the city, throughout the state, are tight. So how do we communicate that to motorists who don't know that riding a bike is, or running or jogging, like you said, we have to share the road. So what the legislature is supposed to do next year is put a 4-foot passing rule into effect. So when you're passing a jogger or a cyclist, you should give 4 feet as you pass. So I think one of the issues that may come up is how to educate the public and motorists about
That
passing and how to properly communicate on the road with one another. And so, of course, as a club, and this is our annual ride that we come through here, and we just wanted to let you know that we do. I don't think I've ever notified the township, because I think the state police looks over you guys. Yeah. So
we don't have a place to.
Yeah, right. So I did contact them, and they were like on the last trip before you get to before the bridge and then the New Hope. What's the town? Lambertville.
Lambertville.
So they always help out, and we get to New Hope Firehouse. They give us, we provide lunch and everything, and we come back. So the other comment with the Sourlands person back here, we do have vehicles that look after folks, and we come out, we put our signs out. So we haven't heard any complaints. So
Right.
so we're here to talk.
I have a couple of comments. One is the ability to notify us, right? One of the things we want to be able to do is let our residents know that this is happening. Because people work, when it's a day off, they wake up, they want to do what they do, and if they get behind 50, 100, 200 bicycles, it is a little frustrating, and they vent that to us. I mean, these comments we're giving you aren't from us, they're from the residents, bringing this to our attention. But one curiosity I'd just like to ask you, when I was a kid, we used to get little license plates for our bikes.
I remember those.
Why can't we register bikes so that at least an automobile person, it's not anonymous anymore, right? If they have a conflict with a bicyclist, that person's registered just as an automobile would be registered. And I mean, it's not your issue, it's not our issue, it seems to me it would go a long way to maybe dealing with any of these conflicts that arise, because the bicyclists are anonymous, essentially.
Right.
They just ride around, no one knows who they are.
I could almost address that.
Please do.
But I'll bring that up when I meet with Cindy in a few weeks. But in another part of the state, up in Bergen County, they do have patrols. I mean, I know you don't have patrols, and they do. If cyclists in 9W, you have to ride single file. That's the way they do it. If you
And
don't,
it's strictly enforced.
it's strictly enforced, and you don't, someone will have a conversation with you. They'll get your driver's license, and they'll talk to you, and they go further steps. So that's how they communicate or talk to the cyclists. But as far as the little license plate, which I remember, because I was, back in that day, That's something we can bring up to the coalition, to the legislator. So.
I think, it sounds like, like extra fees and work, but if you think about it, if as a driver, you could say, well, I don't want to engage that individual, I'll just jot down their license number and make a complaint. It might go a long way to relieving tensions between the two parties. Just my opinion.
Right.
And we can,
Valid input and feedback we'll bring to Cindy. But our event traditionally takes place the second Sunday in August. So leading up to August, we're trying to be proactive to make sure that, is there anything that you would expect of us as a club as we pass through this town on our way to New Hope come this August?
Well, as we said to the other gentleman, a route.
Okay.
A route map is very useful, so we could see what roads, when you're going to be on the roads. And notification to the residents, which most clubs do. They don't rely on us to notify the residents, they do it themselves. We don't want you marking the roads with paint or anything like that.
oh, you do not?
No.
And why do you say that?
Well, if you mark them with permanent paint, and if every cycling club marked them with permanent paint, the roads would start to look a little funky.
Okay.
Marking them with something that's not permanent, that will wash away, I don't see as problematic.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
I smile because some folks get lost and they don't know what to do, so they look for the road. That's why you see that.
Right.
Yeah, so, but we do sometimes put the
Like a sign on a
sign.
pole
Yeah.
or like a lawn sign or something like
Right,
that.
and
to
I
mark
think
it.
your colleague in the back wants to add.
I can address the road marking situation. In most states, marking the pavement is illegal. It's a right reserved for the utilities. It's a safety issue. If someone blacks out a mark by, over an electrical line or a gas line or obscures something for emergency responders, it's an issue. And technically, it's graffiti. Some townships allow it if you black it out. Some allow it if you use a chalk-based solution that washes away. Delaware Township specifies a particular brand, so it's just generally frowned upon because it is permanent.
Can I make one comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Normally, I'm the lawyer, so nobody wants to hear me speak.
Yeah.
And but I used to be deputy county counsel for Somerset County, and there's a lot of county roads in Somerset County. And when you have these bike charity events, not everybody goes forward and gets informs the municipality. You might be on a state route at this moment, a county road at that moment, and then a local road. And whoever owns the road or controls the road, whoever maintains and controls the road, may be responsible in a lawsuit if something were to happen during one of these events. And I recall distinctly one case, and a couple of lawyers up here with me, so they'll tell you that one case doesn't really mean you don't want to take bad facts from one case, but somebody, it was a charity event, they didn't notify the county of Somerset. Somebody fell and broke their collarbone while biking. They were somebody who went into the event with their eyes wide open, but they were on the event. They sued the county, they sued the vendor, and we reached out to them. They said, hey, we said to the person throwing it to the nonprofit, will you indemnify us? No, we're not going to. You're on your own. So then it became council fees, and so I think from a legal standpoint, not talking to your events, I have no idea what your events or anyone else's events are, but it's good for the township or any municipality to know about events, to be able to plan for those events, and to get the proper releases or additional insureds. Just be speaking as a lawyer, because that really helps indemnify the township, protects the citizens, make sure there's not council fees or potential lawsuit where that raises your insurance rates and everything else. So,
Councilman, when you say the municipalities, you mean beyond the police department? Do they communicate, or the township as
We
well?
don't have a police department.
Well, I understand that,
So
but
you would have to.
State police do not communicate
Okay,
with
so-
us. The
so
fact
beyond-
that you've communicated with them doesn't mean that they're going to tell us.
So besides police department, talk to the municipalities as well. That's what
You would
you're
reach
saying.
out to Terry, our
So
township
let her
clerk.
know.
Okay.
She would tell you what form to fill out, and you would fill out that form and return it.
And then provide the route, the course that we're
Well,
going
I
to take.
say that because you go through
county
several.
road,
Yeah,
state
I
road,
understand that,
local
yeah.
road.
Okay.
And we do have insurance for these events, so for
Yeah.
this particular event. So.
Right, and typically we're named as an additional insured, like the gentleman said earlier. The township, each township you're passing through, if it's an organized event, should be named as an additional insured. That's just procedural with the insurance company. It's not anything difficult. Look, I spend between 7 and 8 hours on the roads a week. I usually run 5 days a week. I'll do 1 3-hour run, 1 2-hour run, and maybe 3 1-hour runs. Year round, winter, summer. Since moving to East Amwell, I do not recall ever having a single incident with a driver. Are there drivers who drive too fast? Yes. But I don't recall ever having a single exchange with a driver. I think part of the reason for that is I've been running now 43 years since I was 15 years old. Over that time, you learn a lot, and one of the things you learn is if you get into a fight with a car, you're not going to win. Okay, particularly when you're not even on a bicycle, you're just on your legs. I'm not going to win that fight. So I move over as far as safely possible for cars. I don't do anything to intentionally interfere with their ability to get around me. It's not a battle I'm going to win. My own experience in East Amwell is the organized bike events are not the problem. The organized bike events typically are just that. They're organized. They understand that if their riders misbehave, they're not going to be allowed to use the township roads. So we don't generally have issues. Where we're having issues in the township is with the, what would I call them? The ad hoc bike events, which we had one last year. Never notified us. Had groups riding 3 abreast on our narrow roads. We got so many complaints on that. And then cyclists throwing the middle finger at the residents, and that doesn't help the cyclists. And what happens is it winds up tainting you guys, because the cyclists get painted with the same, all cyclists get painted with the same brush. I also find that littering issues, it's not the serious cyclists that are out there littering. They're not the ones throwing garbage on the road. It's the weekend cyclists who have the basket on the bicycle full of stuff, and they do whatever they do and chuck it. Is it a big problem in East Amwell? No. We have much bigger littering problems than the cyclists, but it is an issue, and one we'd like to deal with. But the comments last week weren't targeted at the organized bike events. We don't have issues with those. This is the ad hoc bike events and the weekend riders who show no regard for drivers, no regard for littering laws. They just do what they want to do. So it's not an issue for you guys. All we would ask is that there is a procedure here. It's not that painful that you notify us, so we know when you're coming.
And I would add, I've been on this committee 8 years, and we've never denied a request to hold a bike event of any kind. Although someone may have said that in a previous meeting that we're unfriendly, we actually have never denied it, as long as I've been here. But I do echo Mr. Wolf's comments that I saw one for-profit outfit where all the bikes were the same, and all the people had the same helmets, and they didn't know how to ride, and they had baskets full of lunch baskets and they were driving 6-8 wide on Wurtsville Road and Van Luz Road, stopping, taking pictures. It was like a tourism type of thing. And someone's making money. Someone's charging for that event, and they're coming and taking advantage of our environment here and creating problems. So, if people would come to us, let us know, give us the appropriate notification, we're fine with it.
Very good.
That's good to know. Thank you for the exchange.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thanks
coming.
for your time.
I wonder if you could write your email address, and that way I can be in touch with you. Thank you.
Any other members of the public want to come up and speak?
I can give you the business card too.
This Francis over in the corner.
Francis,
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Francis has something to say.
welcome back.
Happy New Year. I'm back. Francis Gavigan, Wurtsville Road.
We're on Rocheville Road?
1, 2, 3. Accept no invitations. That's an old joke. A suggestion, because I'd rather solve a problem than complain about it. We have at various places in the township signs that are posted, mostly on township roads. Horses have the legal status and rights of the horseback population having precedence, and it mentions state laws and fines and all that stuff. there should be some kind of language relevant to bicyclist use of the roads and what their expected behaviors are, like single file and yield to motorists and be respectful or this, that, and the other, and trying to find some kind of signs or signage that could be posted not only on the township roads, but maybe escalated up to the county to put on their roads, might go a long way towards educating the bicyclists as well as the drivers as to what other than hand signals is an appropriate usage of our township roads. And the people with the baskets and the hats, the tourist ones, they love to stop at my place too. They advertise, they must have Facebook pages, reaching out to those commercial entities and notifying them in some kind fashion initially that you are using our roads, there are complaints and whatever, might bear some fruit, because when I've seen them, there is a trace car, a follow-up car, so that when they get their flats, or they get overheated and they get water and they get more snacks and this, that, and the other, there is someone who can be the designated adult, and hopefully that the responses would be, or interactions would be more positive, fewer fingers. Anyway, that's it. I'm sure there's something somewhere. Maybe Somerset County has it. If not, Carl's share. Maybe they can think about doing it.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak?
Motion we close?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda items. We have a raffle license application for an event at Unionville Vineyards on February 8th, 2019. Do you need a consensus, a vote? What do we
No,
need?
there was a resolution in your packet tonight to approve a raffle license 1901.
I'll move we
That was
approve
the
raffle
zoning-
license 1901.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
There are no public hearings or no ordinances being introduced this evening. There are no special committee reports. Unfinished business. Terry, what do we need to do with A?
Oh, I was just asked to put it on the agenda. You wanted to announce that they were going out to bid for Ridge Road sections 1 and 2?
Okay, that's right.
Okay.
Yes, the Ridge Road project is now moving forward. So Ridge Road will basically be torn out, proper base put in, proper road put in. That process will start shortly, not the actual construction, but putting it out to bid, with the goal being to actually start construction in the spring. We will notify the residents in advance when the construction will take place and what interference there may be during the construction. But I just wanted to get it out there that that project is moving forward. It's being paid for with grant money that we receive from the state, or largely paid for with grant money we receive from the state. Item B, under unfinished business, the continued discussion of the Helistop application. I asked Terry to put this on the agenda. We spent about an hour and a half last night, maybe more, at the planning board discussing the Ridge. I'd like to share with you tonight two things. One, an update on the Helistop application, and two, just to let you know what's going on at the planning board regarding the Ridge Golf Course. By now, I suspect most of you know that the Ridge applied for a Helistop application on its golf course, which would allow it to have helicopters fly in, land, drop off golfers, take off, come back when the golfers are done, pick them up, take them home. They have 3 times the Ridge in the past come to the township, the planning board, for approval of that Helistop. Each time their application was rejected. The public particularly the residents who live around the ridge, were overwhelmingly against having the helistop. And when I say overwhelmingly, I mean overwhelmingly. Because of a change in law, the ridge no longer needs to come to the township for approval to have a helistop. They simply need to file with the NJDOT. They also have to file with the FAA, but they already did that, and the FAA has given them the approvals they need. So really the last step is their helistop application. Based on discussions I've had with the NJDOT, it appears highly likely the NJDOT is going to approve the application. The township has the ability to submit a letter expressing our view, which we are going to do. We have until January 24th to submit that letter. I have spent a lot of time over the last few months educating myself on this, getting input from people. I plan on sitting down and starting to draft that letter this weekend with an eye toward getting it to the NJDOT by the deadline. Do I think that our letter is going to have any impact on the NJDOT? No, I don't. It is basically a done deal at the NJDOT, so why am I going through the exercise of drafting the letter? Well, I have been in discussion with Assemblyman Borelli's office and our Senator Turner. They are very sympathetic to the issue we faced. Senator Turner's office told me that she is going to write a letter to the NJDOT. I suggested that before she do that, she take a look at the letter that we're proposing to draft, because I think she could lift from that letter and actually provide some useful input. I explained to both of their assistants that while helistops are very useful in certain locations, like for hospitals, state police, East Amwell is not the right place to have a helistop, particularly where the Ridge Golf Course is located. It's an environmentally sensitive area. We have wildlife, we have endangered species, we have species of interest. And what I think most importantly is we have miles of horse trails that go around that golf course. Those horse trails are pretty heavily used. They're heavily used by riders of all ages and riders of all levels of experience. My wife and I walked the horse trail a couple of weeks ago because I actually wanted to see what the horse trail was like. We walked it in December when the leaves are not on the trees. If a helicopter were flying into the ridge in December and the pilot were really paying attention, he would see us as he got over top of us, not before then. And that's if he's really paying attention. During the year when there are leaves on the trees, that pilot would have no clue that we were on that trail. Most of that trail runs through wooded areas. He would not know that we were there. So while helicopter pilots try to be considerate to people riding horses, these pilots wouldn't even know you're on the trail. There are spots on that trail where you have a very steep drop-off. If a horse spooks on one of those areas, it could be catastrophic for the rider and the horse. Those trails were a key component of the deal that the Ridge had, not only with the people who sold the Ridge the land, but with the township. It was a non-starter, the golf course, the sale, without those trails. For the Ridge now to want to fly helicopters in and out for purposes that serve no public use, it's basically just to bring golfers in and out, to me it's just not acceptable and is inconsistent with the original deal on those trails. I've explained that to a number of people. It will appear in our letter. If notwithstanding the efforts of all those involved, the application is awarded and the Ridge starts flying helicopters in and out, the township will then look at filing a lawsuit to stop it. So This is far from over. We'll see what happens. In terms of what took place at the planning board last night, I'm going to make a very long story short. The Helistop application got me focusing on the ridge more generally. In other words, I looked at that and I said, how did we get to this point where in a township like East Amwell, where we don't take 300 acres of beautiful land and use it for commercial purposes, how did we wind up with a golf course? And a golf course that's migrating away from being a pure golf course and toward being a country club, a much more commercial venue, with a Helistop. How did we get there? How did East Amwell get there? And I wrote up an 8-page memo detailing the history. It's on the webpage, and I would encourage any of you who are interested to take a look at it. I'm not going to go through it now, but it's the product of many hours of going through a lot of files back to 1998. But the bottom line is, over time, the ridge has migrated from being a pure golf course, and that's what was represented to the township when the owner of the ridge came in for approval. It's migrated from that to more of a commercial country club. And my own view on that is we've allowed that to go in the wrong direction. And so what I had proposed at the planning board last night was that the planning board revisit the zoning at the Ridge Golf Course to decide whether the Ridge should be entitled to build 2 cottages that are 6,250 square feet each, install an Olympic-sized swimming pool, install tennis courts that, as I understand it, are going to take thousands of gallons of water to maintain, to have a special events ordinance that would allow thousands of people to come into East Amwell, tens of thousands over a 5 or 6 day period for golf tournaments. Is that where we want to be, or should we be looking at going back to where we were, to what this was represented to be, which is a pure golf course? The planning board decided that we ought to do that. So what we are going to do, and it will go on our website as soon as I have time to write it up tomorrow or over the weekend, a notice, we're going to have a public hearing at the next planning board meeting on this issue. We're going to get this notice out there, particularly to the people who live around the Ridge, the people on Wartsville Road, the people on Backbrook Road, and the ancillary roads around the Ridge Golf Course. And hear back from the public what they think. I have a lot of information. Much of it is reflected in that 8-page memo. I have additional numerical information which we'll put on the website. So there'll be plenty of information available for people to look at. And then we'd like to hear what the public thinks. Do they want us to go back to the original game plan where the Ridge is basically a pure golf course? Do they want us to partner with the Ridge as a commercial endeavor, which is essentially the direction we're going in? How do they feel about the special events ordinance? How do they feel about the other items the Ridge has had approved over the last 15 years? So I would encourage anybody who has an interest in this topic to attend the next planning board meeting. The Helistop application issue is being dealt with by this committee. The revisiting of the zoning for the Ridge will be dealt with in the first instance at the planning board level. So that's why we're doing the hearing at the planning board meeting. I think that's all I have to say about this.
Do we know the date of the next planning board meeting?
February 13th.
So you can warm up for your Valentine's Day by coming to the planning board meeting. I can't think of a more romantic 2 days. Come to the planning board meeting on the 13th and the township committee on the 14th. I know, you're all sitting there saying that romantic devil. I know. Kathy's a lucky woman. Look, all kidding aside, this is really both of these are very, very important topics for East Amwell. The mayor and I were, the deputy mayor, at the time he was the mayor, Tim and I were asked through a member to sit down and meet with Joel to talk about the Hellestop. Our response was, we'd be happy to have that discussion, but we're not going to do it by ourselves. If Joel would like to have a discussion about the Hellestop, we should have it either at a public forum, or if he does not want to come to a public forum to have that discussion, then we will have a meeting with him, but we would want to bring a small group of residents, most likely residents who live around the Ridge Golf Course, who have the most skin in the game on this issue, to that meeting. But I don't want to have backroom deals, backroom meetings. I want any discussion on this topic to be out in the open, or at least to have some members of the public present at the meeting. And Tim was in complete agreement with me on that, and that's the message we communicated back. There aren't going to be any backroom meetings on this. That's just not the way I want to do business. On issues like this, everything should be out in the public air.
In fact, if I could just say, that's a little of the way we got here. Part of the history of how we got to where we are is backroom private meetings have occurred and deals have been made. And that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Tim was telling me that in the time he was on the committee, there were private meetings held. Not all the people on the committee even knew what was going on, let alone the residents. And there are issues that come before this township, like litigation matters, where they have to stay with the township committee for attorney-client privilege reasons, etc. We can't bring them out to the public. But with the exception of those issues, my view is we're a small town, and there's no reason why things should be done under the cover of darkness. And so the goal here is to cast as much light as possible on the workings of this township committee in this town as possible, and that's why we've gravitated toward a brand new web page, the cameras you see here tonight, so that people can actually watch the meetings if they can't attend. They can watch them live, or they can go onto YouTube and watch them. But the goal of this committee is to shed as much light as possible on the dealings of this town. So, having the mayor and the deputy mayor meet with Joel when there's no reason to limit it to that is just not something we're looking to do. And we can't have a meeting with the five of us and Joel. That would violate the Open Public Meetings Act. And even if we could, I don't want to do that. I think people who have skin in the game should be attending those meetings. And I live far enough away from the Ridge that the Hellestop isn't going to impact my home personally. So people who are going to be directly impacted, people who live near the Ridge, should be sitting at those meetings with us. They should not be hearing secondhand what happened at the meetings. They should be able to sit there with us. They should be able to weigh in with us. So our response was, if Joel doesn't want to come to a public forum, that's fine, but if we're going to meet, it has to be with at least some members of the public with us. And that's going to be the game plan going forward, not just on the Hellestop, but on any types of issues that are significant to the residents of East Amwell. Okay. Did anybody else have anything you want to say about?
I think it covers it.
Okay. New business. Prime Point contract for payroll.
Right, it's just, and we used to have just automatically turn over, but our auditor picked it up each year and said we should have a contract approved by Township Committee. It's the same contract as last year, so it's just there for you to authorize signature. Wasn't on we didn't receive it in time for reorganization, so I was just adding that tonight.
Do we need a motion and a vote?
Yes, please, yep.
I'll move the approval of the Prime Point contract for payroll.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Approved? Did you want to say something?
No.
Oh. I sent to Terry, although I'm, oh yeah, I have it here, okay. I sent to Terry, because I forgot to do it until she reminded me, I sent to her the liaison appointments for 2019. They're very similar to what we had for 2018. There are a few changes, obviously, because David is not on the committee and Chris is on the committee. Do I need to read these out, or can we just post them on the webpage?
We'll put them on the webpage.
Okay, I believe they're already there, actually. I think Allison had already put them on, so anyone who's interested in seeing who is liaison for which committees, it's all posted on the webpage. Okay, I'd like to get a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
I'll second.
We are open to the public to discuss anything you would like to discuss. Anyone from the public would like to get up and discuss anything? Can I have a motion to close to the public?
Move to close.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We don't have an executive session this evening. We don't have, do we have any administrative reports?
That should have been just in your files.
I mean, what was in the files, but
Yeah,
nothing to
okay,
talk about.
Nothing else.
All right.
Nope, and there's a bill for the evening.
Okay. Any questions about the
Oh, I'm
correspondence?
sorry, there are bills of the evening.
We gotta move the bills of the
Did I talk over that?
A.
It's a
17A.
Oh, see, rookie mistake.
So I'll move the bills of the evening.
Rookie mistake.
I'll second those.
Kevin second.
Okay.
Now all you have to say is all in favor.
All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Aye. I actually went through the list, too, very carefully. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions about correspondence? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Yeah. Rick, you said it right.